Park.
Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Over the next 4 hours, we'll keep you up to date with what's happening across all the football in Great Britain, but with the emphasis on Scottish football. I'm delighted to see our pundits this afternoon. Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Darren Jackson join us here for the next 4 hours to keep you entertained, opinion and of course no shortage of chat on all the issues over the last 7 days in football. And the most immediate fact is at Fir Park, where Celtic are leading by 2-1 against Motherwell. Alan Ruff.
Yeah, Celtic have just went into the lead there, unfortunately for the goalkeeper. A bit of a mistake, but all credit to Lee Griffiths again, in the right place at the right time, and hit the target, which is important, but I'm sure the goalkeeper will regret that mistake at the end of the day.
Yep, Darren, you are a big fan of Lee Griffiths. That's 37 for the season.
Sensational. I was his agent at one point, and he's just a goal scorer. You look at his record, I think he's 2-1 everywhere, probably better than that at Celtic now. And you see his movement, you see the goal. Some strikers would just stay at the back post, wait for the cross, but his movement's across, moving the defender all the time. And yes, he's got a bit of luck with the goalkeeper's mistake, but he's hit the target, and you hit the target, you give yourself a chance.
Yeah, could have had a hat-trick. Gordon missed a penalty.
Yeah, missed a penalty as well, but I agree with Dan. He's had a sensational season. I mean, the thing about it is you don't score that many goals unless you have a lot of qualities and ability, and if Celtic do win the league this year, he deserves a lot of credit. I do think, you know, there's other players have had great seasons with different clubs as well, but I think that if there's going to be a player of the year selected this year, it will be Griffiths, I think.
Yeah. And the implications of, as you mentioned there, Celtic winning today is off the back of, quite simply, Ruffy, Aberdeen blowing it against Hearts.
Yeah, again, I mean, all credit to them for hanging on for so long, but I think we all knew at the end of the day the pressure would mount, and the consistency that you need to have to win a league, they would just fall short of it, and that seems to be the case. They've had opportunities all the way through the season, particularly when Celtic have faltered. They've had ample opportunity to capitalise on it, and they just haven't done it.
It's not as if they've got a poor record against Celtic, Darren. They've got 2 wins and 1 loss. You know, a lot of people will say, well, Celtic have got greater resources, but you know, I've looked at all the stats and the games that they've lost. They lost 4 games in October, which for me killed off their chances of winning it, and it was against teams that you wouldn't have thought that they would have lost against. You know, they've lost against the likes. 5-1 at home against St Johnstone is just not good enough.
It's not good enough, Peter, but that's a freak result. It does happen, and I know what you're saying about the losing 4 games, but the credit to them, they kept in there. And last night I was at the cup game, and it's just not like Aberdeen. I felt in the cup game was the same as last night after probably the first 10-15 minutes. Hearts kind of bullied them. And it happened in the cup game, and you don't see that with Aberdeen. And they just couldn't seem to get in the game. I mean, Hayes, I think, we're talking about player of the year.
Yeah.
Hayes is up there. Hayes is, I think Griffiths is player of the year, but Hayes has had a fantastic season.
He was one of the candidates, I think.
But yes, Church has come in and scored goals, but when you take Adam Rooney out the side, you know you're going to guarantee goals. And McGinn's obviously gone off the boil a little bit, chances as well. So, but I just felt they were bullied last night, and it's not like an Aberdeen side to be bullied.
Yeah, and am I maybe being too critical of them? Because should we be looking at the fact that they've been able to hang in there, or maybe the expectations from all of us suggesting, well, wait a minute, you've got a team that's been talking about winning the league, you haven't done it.
Yeah, well, I felt they started the game really well last night, and I think it came down to the fact was they missed crucial chances when they were 1-0 up. They could easily have been 3-0 up if they'd taken their chances. Now that becomes a different game then, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. OK, the latest score from Fir Park is Motherwell 1, Celtic 2. We will keep you up to date with that. We'll be going around the grounds for the key matches in the Premiership in Scotland, Championship, League 1 and League 2. And we'll also keep you up to date with what's happening in the game at Upton Park. West Ham are beating Arsenal by 3-2 at the moment. Join us after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show here on STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow. Delighted to have your company. Darren Jackson, Gordon Smith and Alan Ruff are here with me for the next 4 hours, all the way through till 6 o'clock. And if you're really in control in the house, basically you can throw in the Anthony Joshua fight, then the Masters till 2 o'clock in the morning, and then have a long lie on the Sunday. There you are. I've summed up your day for you. What more can you ask for over the course of Saturday? If you get away with that, by the way, don't forget to tweet us and find out which hospital you're in so we can come and visit you. As far as the game, so far it's still Motherwell 1, Celtic 2. Ruffy, Steve McManus has just picked up a yellow card for a lunge at near Beaton. Should it have been more?
No, I don't think so. I think it was a lunge, but the ball was there to be won. I think he got a touch on the ball. I think it was the aftermath of the challenge that he just beat on, got his leg caught up in between McManus's. So, no, I don't think it was a sending off or anything like that. I mean, Stephen has been known to make that lunge, but he's a centre-half, you know, that's what you expect.
Yeah, there's a wee moment of deja vu in this game, Darren Jackson, when Scott McDonald scored a goal, and suddenly I'm almost certain many a player who played in 2005 started to think about McDonald scoring and thinking, could he be about to do a major favour for Aberdeen? But it hasn't quite materialised because of Griffiths.
Well, it's not. No, it was a good goal. The little boy Tierney will be disappointed. The player got in and cut it back. It was a good finish. I really like the Motherwell front three. I like Moult, McDonald and Johnson because they're all different, and I think they cause problems. But I'm sure the Celtic fans got a little bit worried there when Scott scored.
Yeah, and the flip side of this, Gordon, for Motherwell is quite simply, you know, Mark McGee now at the end of this game, if it doesn't go their way, will be looking at all the permutations, thinking, are we going to finish top 6 here?
That's right, because after last week I thought that they had confirmed it. But the point would have done it for them today. But if Celtic finish this game and win the match, then Motherwell are depending on how the scores work out elsewhere. I mean, they're sitting in a good position at the moment. I mean, they're in good form. This would be a good win for Celtic because Motherwell have been in very, very good form. They've been playing well. They've been hard to beat, and they got themselves back in the game today. So it would be a massive win for Celtic considering what happened last night with Aberdeen. With Aberdeen thrown it away, and you know, Celtic can now go 8 points clear today by winning this game, so that makes a big difference. I mean, when you're looking at a scenario before the game last night, you're saying, well, Aberdeen could get it back to 2 points. Celtic have got to go to Motherwell, difficult game. They might have been under more pressure in this game if actually Aberdeen had got the win. They'd have had to have gone out there, and that could have put them off a bit. But as it was, they were probably quite comfortable going out with a 5-point lead.
Yeah, Ruffy, should we be talking more about Hearts because of what they achieved last night? Because suddenly Robbie Nielsen will start to think second is on the cards.
You've obviously got to think second's on the cards, but there is still a wee bit of a gap there. You know, I know they've got a game in hand, but Aberdeen have got points of advantage on them. Obviously, the splits to come, and there'll be important games coming up in that one. I just think
they won't catch Aberdeen.
Place, no, I don't think so.
It's 9 points, Peter. Yeah. They won't get there.
But they will say it in the press conferences because you guarantee that anybody who wants to try and keep the players focused, interested, call it what you will, Darren, they've got to try and say to themselves, I mean, Aberdeen look a shoe in for second, but suddenly Hearts, there's nobody near Hearts in third, so rather than just skate towards the end of the season with nothing to play for, you've got to try and keep the fans' interest up.
Of course you have, Peter, and it's all about today. If Celtic go and win today, you would think that could be over. Now, it's how the Aberdeen players respond to that. Do they go on a downer and Hearts take advantage of that? I can't see them catching them. But I think both teams have had a fantastic season. And probably Hearts haven't been given enough, well, they have been given credit for last night, but maybe not enough after the start they had. Yeah. It looked as though it was going to be, I mean, a good victory for Aberdeen, not just a victory, but they got back into it and they battled back into it. And obviously the boy, Juanma, looks... I don't think he's as good as Nadir, but he looks like a kind of player like Nadir. When he's on song, he can play, but he could be a bit huffy as well. But last night, strength, holding it up, and obviously 2 great finishes.
Yeah. Seems to be a new ploy now that maybe other clubs would use when they come up against bigger teams, is just say your whole squad's got a virus and can't play and you want the game put off. and then the 11 of them make a remarkable recovery and they're all on the team.
I mean, it's a very good point.
3 days later.
If I've got a man cold, I'm out for a fortnight. You know, there's no way I can recover in 3 days to go and play a football game.
It was a good recovery, considering the fact that as the game went on, they were looking stronger and stronger. So they've also had good medical help there, I would imagine, to do that. But I give credit to Hearts as well. I think that, you know, what a season they've had. To win the, you know, the championship last year, come up and then compete so well in the league, I think that's been outstanding. And last night I felt, even the game against Celtic they lost last weekend, I thought that they played really well. And they ended up losing the game, but you're thinking that was a good performance from Hearts. And then last night again, they started badly, but then they got stronger and stronger. And I felt, you know, they're certainly building a good team there. Don't know whether they'll ever challenge for the league title itself, but I think that Robbie Nielsen's certainly got them improved.
Yeah, it's still in the dying seconds of the game between Motherwell and Celtic. Motherwell 1, Celtic 2. 2 goals for Lee Griffiths. He's missed a penalty. Scott McDonald scored for Motherwell. There's been a few feisty challenges in an enthralling 90 minutes, to say the least, but it's Celtic who will have the advantage, and just waiting now for the additional time. In fact, we're in that additional time to be added on. 4 minutes being played, and then we'll be at the end of the game, and Celtic will have an advantage that many would suggest this afternoon will be an unassailable lead, and Aberdeen will be thinking about just holding off Hearts' challenge for second place. There's lots of other questions to be answered this afternoon as well. Dundee United, let me bring you their team. It's a big game for them at Tannadice against Inverness Cali Thistle. Kawashima's in goal, Dixon, Morris, Peyton, Mackay, Rankin, Dow, Gunning, Annier, Demel and Noyle. And no surprise that Dundee United's players have been told not to utter a word to any of the media. It's just stay focused, because if the Great Escape is going to happen, they might have to take something from this one.
Well, they need 3 points, Peter. I said that if they could go into the split 3 or 4 points away from whoever, is it Kilmarnock or Hamilton. Yeah. Now, results go today, it could go the other way, but results go today, they could be 2 points away from Kilmarnock and 6 away from Hamilton. Now, you take your chance in the split when you're all playing against each other. So, but it's important they win. They can't worry what's happened at St Johnstone game. They just have to concentrate on themselves, try and get a result, and they've got the players to get a result. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, okay. Dundee United against Inverness. There are other games at the bottom end that we're going to keep a close eye on. One of them is at Rugby Park, because if we're talking about Dundee United need to win, then Kilmarnock, Lee Clark's still looking for his first win at home at Rugby Park. They take on St Johnstone, and Derek Clark is there for us.
Yeah, it's a sun-soaked Rugby Park for what is a monumental match for both sides, it has to be said. Kilmarnock, as you said, Peter, desperately need a victory. Lee Clark has not even won a game in his first 6 games. In fact, he's failed to score in 5 of those games, losing 4 and drawing 2. There's no doubt about it. That's smack-bang relegation form. They make one change from the side that drew with Partick last week. Josh McGuinness comes back in. Rory McKenzie drops to the bench for St Johnstone. Well, they're looking to secure yet another top 6 finish. A win would secure that, although a draw or even a defeat maybe will be enough if results go their way elsewhere. Boss Tommy Wright has said achieving a top 6 finish this season will be an even greater achievement than last year. As he says, it gets harder every year because of the size of the club, and it's hard to argue with that, considering also they lost their best player in January in the shape of Michael O'Halloran. They make 3 changes from the side that lost to Dundee United last week. So in comes Lappin, Craig and Krashenov, and out goes Easton, McLean and Davidson. A lot at stake for this one. It's Kilmarnock against St Johnstone.
Must be a real downer for Stephen McLean, knowing every time he goes to an AstroTurf pitch he's not going to play. He drops out. I can tell you it's West Ham 3, Arsenal 3. Hat-trick for Andy Carroll for West Ham. Arsenal with Ozil, Sanchez and Koscielny. It's finished now. Motherwell 1, Celtic 2. Alan Ruff, your thoughts on the 90 minutes at Fir Park?
Yeah, I think you would have to say Celtic are the deserving winners. They've created a lot of chances, missed the penalty, you know, but still at 1 each and at 1-0, you're always leaving yourself open for that counter-attack, and that's what happened with Motherwell. I think Celtic have playing at a better tempo now. I mean, Ronnie Dowler keeps talking about it. When they do play at that tempo and move the ball about, they're very hard to beat, but there's still lapses at the back, and anybody coming up against Celtic will be looking at these lapses, and if you get 1 or 2 chances, you'll be hoping you can cash in on them.
Okay, that's the story of the game at Fir Park. Celtic now with an 8-point advantage over Aberdeen. You can interact with us this afternoon at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy, peterandruffy.com. Give us your thoughts on what happened last night with Aberdeen blowing their chances of staying in touch with Celtic. And Celtic fans out there, are you becoming more impressed with Ronnie Deila, or do you still feel even a league title will not be enough to save his job, or possibly even a double? At Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Let me bring you the two teams from the game up at Dingwall. Ross County against Partick Thistle. Thistle with Scully, Miller, Seaborn, Welsh, Booth, Osman, Amu, Lawless, Dumbuya, Edwards and Pogba. That's the starting 11 for Thistle. As far as Ross County are concerned, Fox, Quinn, McLaughlin, Woods, Gardine, Schalk, Foster, Davis, Fraser, Murdoch and Graham. And since they won the League Cup, Gordon Smith, the wheels have come off a wee bit for Jim McIntyre's team.
Yeah, they certainly haven't been going that well, and I think they've had like 2 wins out of the last 8 or 9 league games. But this is a big game. I mean, this is. I know a lot of people will say, well, there's no great credit for being in the top 6, but everybody wants to be there, and there's a point apart between the two teams, and it is a real fight. It's like a cup final between the two of them today, in order, because there are 6 teams basically vying for, or 5 teams I should say, vying for 3 spots in that top 6 just now. You know, Motherwell's at the top of it, and Ross County are at the bottom of those 5 teams. And if they win today, Ross County, they will go top 6. So it is a big game for them, and Partick got a good result during the week, so they pushed themselves up there. At one stage we were thinking Partick might be one of the teams that were getting dragged into the playoff position, but they're in a position now where they can also go top 6, so they're strong. But Ross County, as I say, their form's not been great, but having a home game today and what's at stake for them might just lift them.
I'm amazed that Alan Archibald, like a couple of other managers mentioned this season, that there was a point in the season where he feared the sack. When you consider the budget he's on, the fact that, as Ruffy's pointed out on several shows, that he's had to change that team consistently.
Yeah, it's not great getting the sack.
No, absolutely. It's a great point, and let's hope you don't get used to it.
It's worse when you're just fearing it, Dan, rather than getting it.
Yeah. Like when you talk about he didn't have any wins in his first 9 games, it's incredible, and a fair play to Archie. He's brought players in, but the other ones are still doing it. Doolan and all that, who's I think is a fantastic player. And the other night, seemingly Dundee United could have been 4 or 5 up at half time, but they've hung in there and they've come out the second half and they were the better team the second half, and they get that goal and they've put themselves right in a position for the top 6, and they'll feel comfortable going up to Ross County. Ross County are good at home, but they've gone off the boil. But I think Partick will feel confident going up there.
Yeah, and of course another player, Ruffy, that I have to mention is Callum Booth. He's signed now a 2-year deal with Thistle. He was one of those players that I thought at Hibs, I was amazed to let him go. I mean, obviously they got Lewis Stevenson, who's a seasoned campaigner for them, but I thought he was a useful player. Great for Thistle to get him.
Yeah, I was surprised it never worked for him there, but Partick Thistle have had a long list of good fullbacks. Unfortunately, they've had to move on, and he's went in there and did particularly well. And it's good that Partick Thistle are now identifying that they have to keep a hold of certain players, because they know they are going to, 2 or 3 are going to move on. But it's a good sign in the dressing room when players are committing themselves to another couple of years. It just means the club's going in the right place.
We're going to New Douglas Park now, because if we're talking about Kilmarnock, still wary of a playoff, potentially worse than that, going down to the Championship, then Hamilton are in the same predicament. They're at home to Dundee. Des McKeown is there.
A fantastic link, Peter. I thought you were coming here because you were talking about quality fullbacks, but there you go. Story of my life. So close, but no cigar. Yeah, big game ahead of Hamilton and Dundee today, obviously for very different reasons. Hamilton with no home win since the 19th of September 2015, so 3 wins from 16 games at home. Martin Cannon under a bit of pressure from the fans, but not seemingly from the board, and a victory today would give them a fighting chance of securing a place where they're not going to be involved in the playoffs. Obviously it would be a big 3 points for them. On the other hand, Dundee, they have another object to try and achieve today, and that's their top 6 position. A win would almost certainly confirm that, unless goal difference elsewhere was relatively mental on the day. But Paul Hartley knows that a victory, more than anything else, will confirm their top 6 place. Couple of changes, 3 changes for Hamilton. Karakins, Augustine and Diaby are replaced by Brophy, Tagliapietra and Morris, and no surprise that Paul Hartley has almost an identical side that drew it against Celtic during the week, but Rory Lloyd drops out through injury. He's replaced by Craig Whiten. Terrific game ahead, perfect conditions, and both teams warming up in front of me, so really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and of course, it's not the type of thing, Ruffy, you would hear over the last 40 years. You wouldn't hear John Motson saying, unless points and, goals elsewhere are relatively mental. It's just a great catchphrase for Des there, isn't it? It's just encapsulated the show, relatively mental.
Well, he has made a good point, I guess. But the thing about it is, if Partick Thistle win 8-0 today, and Dundee only win by 1 goal, then Partick go in the top 6. I think Partick can win 8-0.
To be perfectly honest with you, I think that's what Des was talking about. That's relatively mental. No disrespect to Partick Thistle fans, but I'm just saying, if it happens, I'm taking all 3 of them out and buying them a car. Can you imagine my face at 10-6? Ruffy, talk us through the 8 goals. I can't see it happening. Okay, that's how it looks in the Premiership. Of course, the Championship is wrapped up. Rangers are the champions after that win against Dumbarton, but they will be thinking about the Petrofac Training Cup, which is taking place tomorrow at Hampden against Peterhead, and a chance for Rangers at the 4th attempt to finally win the Petrofac Training Cup. It will be the second stage of what they are hoping will be a treble. We'll hear from Lee Wallace, who says the boys celebrated on Tuesday, but there was no real heavy drink. It was all about making sure they were getting back on the protein shakes, getting ready for this one and the game against Celtic.
No, of course it was great to get the wee lap around the pitch and celebrate with the fans who thoroughly deserve the fact that we've managed to get ourselves back to top flight football. None more so than the fans, who have been exceptional since day one, all the days ago when we go back to the game against Peterhead that you mentioned there, or the Brecon game before that, having been the first game since we dropped. But no, the fans have been superb, and I think that it was great to celebrate that with them on Tuesday night. But I think we've got to remain professional, and the mindset for us certainly won't change. I mean, there was obviously the bottles of champagne in the dressing room for that particular moment of celebration, to get a few pictures. But it was soon on to the protein shakes and getting ourselves ready for training the next day and moving on to this game. So I think that's the preparations certainly haven't changed, and the outcome of this game at the weekend, the normal or the norm for us will just be as professional as possible.
Well, Ruffy, I like Lee Wallace's attitude. If there is indeed any champagne going, or if there was champagne going in that dressing room, it was going over the players' heads. They were back onto the shakes to make sure that their bodies are in tip-top condition to finally get that Petrofac Training Cup. Yeah,
it's a shame that they weren't allowed to celebrate, because we're all in it to win things. When you do, you want to celebrate with everybody connected with the club. But there will be other games, and time to celebrate. So they'll just have to wait. But I'm sure they'll be focused on exactly what they've got to do over the next week or so.
Yep, and of course Graham Smith will be playing for Peterhead, and he can't believe it. He's got a final to look forward to.
I thought my days of finals were over, but it just goes to show you a bit of hard work and a bit of luck as well. As I say, these things are achievable. I mean, it's almost like a fairy tale story where this, obviously Rangers done great the other night to get promoted, so they're never going to win this competition again. As I say, for us, a part-time team in a league with full-time teams in it, that we're doing well in. That we can come here and, as I say, enjoy our day out, because we've more than deserved to get here. We've beat Championship teams, we've beat League 2 teams as well. So, as I say, we can enjoy our day, but we also know that once the game's finished, we've got pressing priorities next week as well, because we want to finish up our league as high as possible.
Great to see Graham there, Ruffy. He looks younger now, by the way. I wonder if he's... do you think he's dyeing his hair or anything like that? I mean, he just looks as if he's taking years off himself. I think you and Darren need to get into that, by the way.
Yeah, he seems to have been about for a long, long time. Obviously, Darren know him a wee bit better than us. But when I met him, did he have a bad injury and he was out for a long, long time?
Wasn't out for a long. Yeah, he was out for a little while, not too long. But as I say, I was looked after him as his agent, and did his move to Rangers, and he's a mad Rangers man, and his dad, and it was just that's what Gordon will have been there. That's what gave me a buzz when you were an agent, taking a boy to a club, a boyhood dream, and very good goalkeeper. Only played one game, I think it was against East Stirling in the cup, but. I thought he would have done better in his career and the career he's had, but probably down to injuries. But very, very good keeper.
Yeah. The coincidence is the last time Rangers got the final and didn't do well, it was an ex-Rangers goalkeeper as well. Played well that day. Lee Robinson.
That's right. Yeah.
Was an outstanding player, and Rangers had let him go too.
Yeah.
So we're hoping it doesn't happen twice.
I was just about to say, I think the Rangers fans will thank you for that, Gordon, just in case it actually works out that way and he has a blinder on the day. One of the things I must pay tribute to, we will hear from Jim McInally and Mark Warburton a little later in the show, but Jim McInally, the job that he's managed to do, Ruffy, at Peterhead is quite incredible. It always helps when you've got a goal scorer who bangs in 30 goals like Rory McAllister, and may I add, with his own, I think something like 16 goals, Shane Sutherland. But Jim McInally, we had Simon Ferry in here midweek, and he said, I only want to play for Jim because he's a special coach.
Yeah, I think that's what happens when you go to a club like that. It's not high profile. You're not going to have big quality players. So what you've got to do is try and attract a good atmosphere within the club. You've got to have guys who all enjoy their own company. They all go out together. They travel together. And that's when you get some rewards, when they're so close together, they all fight for each other when things aren't going particularly well. And that looks as if it's a setup. Simon was on there, and you got that feeling that the boys obviously are going to go out and enjoy the day, but determined enough to try and take something out of the game.
Yep, in the Championship with Rangers concentrating on the Petrofac tomorrow. Of course, all eyes will be on the other teams battling for second, third and fourth. Fourth, of course, Wraith Rovers look fairly assured on that. But Hibs and Falkirk are putting up a really good battle today at the Falkirk Stadium for the game against St Mirren. Craig Turnbull.
Grand National, the race for second is all that matters for Falkirk today. They'll be hoping to bounce back after that disappointing draw against Queen of the South last week when they led by 2-0, but late goals meant that they had to draw 2-2, and it's been a theme of their season with 17 points dropped in the last 10 minutes of games. A quite staggering stat. A win today against the Saints will help maintain at least a 3-point gap against Hibs, who have 2 games in hand over the Bairns, but who face each other on Tuesday, and that should be an absolute cracker. Well, for St Mirren, it's been a bit of rejuvenation under new boss Alex Rae, and I think the fact that they had a sense of frustration drawing 2-2 with Hibs is an indication of how far they've come under the former midfielder. They'll hope to finish with a flourish, and they'll not beat the Bairns this season, but a win today would guarantee their safety and allow Rae to start thinking about building for next season. This one has the makings of a great game. Team news to come from the Falkirk Stadium.
Thanks very much to Craig Turnbull. Let me bring you the Inverness Cally Thistle side. We've already revealed Dundee United for you. Inverness with Fawn Williams in goal, Tremarco, Warren, Meekings, Draper, Devine, Tansey, Polworth, Vigers and Mutombo, with Story, of course, the man that'll be given the task of trying to get the goals today. Ruffy, if he is struggling to try and attract players up there, I mean, that's not a bad side he's put out there today, John Hughes. I just can't work out. He's had major injuries, I think, that's really kind of thwarted their ambitions to be a top 6 side again.
Yeah, right at the very beginning of the season. I think the cup winning side, I think he lost a couple, and he had 3 injuries. Obviously, the boy had the bad injury in the final, so he's been fighting against it right at the beginning of the season. He's managed to get 1 or 2 back in again, but we're all talking about Kilmarnock and Hamilton, not doing particularly well. I think Inverness are now falling into that category. They're not as strong as what they used to be, very, very hard to beat, but now they're losing games, and they're not that far away from Hamilton and Kilmarnock. And obviously, if they're in that split, with Darren's already talked about 4 or 5 points in a 15-point split can be caught up very easily. All you have to do is lose your first 2 games and you're right in the mix.
You're right, they're only 7 points ahead of Kilmarnock where they're sitting just now, and they have lost 5 of their last 7 games, Inverness. I mean, there's 1 draw, 1 win and 5 defeats. That shows you that they've gone off a bit and they're not playing the way they were earlier in the season.
Yeah, let me bring you the Hibs team, and we'll get Darren Jackson's thoughts on that, because he played for Hibs as well. It's going to be a long afternoon with that line, believe me. It's Oxley in goal, Gray, Gunnarsson, Hanlon, Stevenson, 5'8", McGinn, Henderson, Keating, Stokes and Cummings. Middle to front, I always think Hibs have got the potential to run over the best of teams.
Without a doubt. But I was at the last game at Alloa, the Hibs game, and the pitch is hard to play on. I think they're going to rip it up and relay it for next season, but it's hard to play on. But it was a great goal from Cummins that day, great ball from John McGinn, who, again, we're talking about Player of the Year. I think he'll be the First Division Player of the Year, along with, obviously, there's a few Rangers players.
Yeah.
That are
You think
going to be
McGinn will win it?
I think he's had an absolute outstanding season.
Yeah.
And the way he performed in his Scotland debut, it's just like a duck to water. I just think he's that good.
Yeah.
I think he could go and play higher level in England.
Do you think he'll put Waghorn and Cummings to the play?
Well, Waghorn has scored a lot of goals. Cummings has scored, but I just think his all-round play, he's such an important player to Hibs. And as I say, I think he's had an incredible season.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he walked up onto the stage, to collect the award, Gordon. But
yeah, no. When you asked me last week, I felt he's going to win it. I think he will. I think the challenge, really for me, would come probably for Tavernier for Rangers. Maybe Mackay will be challenging, and maybe Holt. They're the kind of three players that have been pretty consistent with Rangers as well. But I think I agree with Dan. I think McGinn has probably been, like, over the whole season, has been outstanding.
And I think taking it to the international level, I think will help as well.
Yeah. Ruffy?
I would have thought if the boy Waghorn hadn't got injured, he would have been a stone waller, with the amount of goals that he stole. McGinn will be there. I'm still a big fan of Liam Henderson. I think Liam Henderson's had a good season as well. So Cummins will be up there as well, and the Rangers boys. I think it would come from these two teams, and unfortunately for Falkirk, John Baird, if he got to 25, then he'd be
we've had Beardy on, and let's hope he does get to 25, because he's getting mightily close. We will have a look at the Beardometer. We've been counting the goals down, and we'll talk about Falkirk after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Darren Jackson are with me all the way through till 6 o'clock here on a Saturday afternoon. Every Saturday, 2 till 6, STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow. If you're close to a ground, if you're a neutral or if you're a fan of a team, get out there to the football matches. We want to see you support Scottish football. But if you can't get to a game, stick with us. We'll keep you up to date with all the goals as they hit the back of the net. We'll bring it to you here, reaction, opinion, wee bit of chat, wee bit of banter as well for the Saturday. Let's get the teams then from Rugby Park. First of all, Derek Clark has the details.
Yeah, Kilmarnock make one change from the side that drew nothing each with Partick Thistle last week. So in comes Josh McGuinness and Rory McKenzie drops to the bench. So the lay line up in the lot looks like a 4-4-2 formation. McDonald is the goalkeeper. A back four of Hodson, Ballatoni, Addison and O'Hara. A midfield of Kilty, Dicker, Faubert and Higginbotham with Boyd and McGuinness up top. On the bench for Killy this afternoon, Brennan, Finlay, McKenzie, Henschel, Ashcroft, Slater and Frizzell. St Johnstone meanwhile make 3 changes from the side that lost to Dundee United last week. So out goes Easton, McLean and Davidson. They're replaced by Lappin, Craig and Krashenov. So they line up in what looks like a 4-2-3-1 formation. Manis in goals, back four of Fisher, Shaughnessy, Krashenov and Scobie, with it looks like Miller and Craig holding, Swanson, Lappin and Witherspoon supporting Kane up top on his own. On the bench for the Saints this afternoon, Clark, Doyle, Sutton, Cummins, Brown, Hurst and Gordon. The referee for this one, Crawford Allen.
Okay, looking forward to that match. What about Hamilton against Dundee? Des McKeown is there for us with the team details.
It's 3 changes Martin Cannon makes from the team that lost at Aberdeen last weekend. Karakins, Augustine, Diaby are replaced by Brophy, Tagliapietra and Morris. That means they'll line up with Michael McGovern in goals. Back four of Ziggy Gordon, Mikey Devlin, Lucas Tagliapietra and Jesus Garcia Tena. Holding two of Eamon Brophy and Darren McKinnon with 3 in front of them. Dougie Imrie to the right, Ali Crawford central, Greg Docherty to the left and Carlton Morris up front. On the bench, Alan Martin, Anton Karakins, Omar Diaby, Danny Redmond, Gramos Courtage, Jermaine Augustine and Stephen Boyd. As I said earlier, it's only one change for Paul Hartley's Dundee side that drew with Celtic. Rory Loy's out with an ankle injury. He's replaced by Craig Whiten. That means they have Scott Bain in goals. I think we'll be a back four of Thomas Conrad, Jean Extra-Begurin, Darren Adee and Kevin Holt. Midfield 3 of Cammy Kerr, Paul McGowan, Nicky Ross, and a front 3 of Greg Stewart, Kane Hemmings and Craig Whiten. On the bench, David Mitchell, Darryl Meggett, Nicky Lowe, Arturo, Kostadin Gadzalov, Gary Harkins and Calvin Calhoun. Our referee is John Beaton.
I think Paul Hartley will be delighted, Darren Jackson, if he can hold on to one out of the 3, Stuart, Hemmings and Rory Loy.
I'm a huge fan of
yeah, so am I, but I never thought we'd be guilty of wind on this show, but then again, that's what happens. Are you a fan of him as well? Oh yes.
Yeah, huge fan of Greg Stewart. And I was just looking at that Garcia Tena playing right back. I think could be a problem position today. If Greg Stewart's on form, I think you give him a hard time because I don't think he's a left back. I don't think he moves quick enough. And if Greg Stewart comes in and plays, but as I say, I'm a huge, absolutely massive fan of Greg Stewart.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that there because so many people will be on it, believe me, including me and Ruffy. Lots of people tweeting us in, thank you very much. To interact with us, all you have to do is go to @Peter and Ruffy and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. David says, the Dons have blown it now, they had their chance, but credit to Hearts, they've had a good season. Give us your thoughts on the title race, the battle for second and third, and of course, who's going down. In the Championship today, Falkirk against St Mirren is a key game. Our man Craig Turnbull has the teams.
Change from Falkirk, which drew 2-2 with Queen of the South last week. Out goes defender Paul Watson, and in comes Miles Hippolyte, who we remember had a great game against Rangers and really turned that game in the favour of Falkirk. So they go with Rogers in goal, a back four of Muirhead and McCracken. I think Volks will slip into the defence with Leahy at fullback, Alston, Tawo, Kerr and Hippolyte in midfield, with John Baird looking to add to his 19 goals this season, and Miller up front. On the bench for the Bairns is Dennis Memmott, Craig Sibyl, David Smith, Bob McHugh, Scott Shepherd, Kevin McCann and Cameron Blue as well. For the visitors, they are unchanged from that 2-2 draw with Hibs. Alex Ray obviously keeping faith with the side that did really well against Alan Stubbs' men. They go with Langfield in goal, a back four of Irvine, Baird, Webster and Watson, Gallagher, Quinn, Carswell and Cooper, a former Bairn, in midfield for the Saints. Mallon supporting Shankland up front, and on the bench for the Saints is Rhys Willison, Jim Goodwin, Alan Gow, Stephen Thompson, Cameron Hewison, Lewis Morgan and Jordan Stewart, and the referee for today's game is Andrew Dallas.
I think they might have their work cut out today, Ruffy, despite the fact that Alec has been raving about the efforts of Lawrence Shanklin. You're looking at that Falkirk side there, and they should have more than enough. They've got the bit between their teeth in this battle.
Yeah, you would like to think so on paper, but it's coming to the time of the season when it's not only football that comes into consideration, it's handling the pressure that goes along with it, and both managers will be looking at their players, so there'll be some players in there will respond to it, but there will be players that maybe go into a wee bit of a shell. So I think it depends on the day, which of these players turn up.
You might be right about that, Ruffy, because you look at they were going well, and in their previous home game they lost to Livingston at home, and then they did do well at Queen of South, and then lost a very late goal, 92nd, 93rd minute goal. So they've thrown away 5 points in the last 2 games, Falkirk.
Yeah, you mentioned Livingston there. We'll bring you the teams from Morton, Livingston in the Championship as well. We'll also talk about Queen of the South against Wraith Rovers, because that looks as if it could be an interesting battle in Dumfries. Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Darren Jackson are with me this Saturday afternoon. We're getting ever closer to the big kick-off. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show, getting ready for the big kick-off across the country. Not only all 4 divisions in Scotland, but of course the Barclays Premier League as well. We're going to keep you up to date. Of course, Leicester not in action until tomorrow against Sunderland. Everybody seems to be a Leicester City fan at the moment, willing them to achieve what would be one of the biggest sporting shocks over the last 30, 40 years in football. If you can think of a bigger one, then do put it on Twitter for us at Peter and Ruffy, and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. It will be an unbelievable achievement for Claudio Ranieri, and this could be a major step over the course of this weekend. And let's not forget, Tottenham need to defeat Manchester United to keep this whole thing interesting, or if Leicester get the win, they could be 10 points clear. Incredible. We'll keep you up to date with the Barclays Premier League as well. It was West Ham 3, Arsenal 3, a hat-trick for Andy Carroll, but still not enough to get all 3 points. And Arsene Wenger's title challenge, I think, has just petered out, to be fair, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think so. They've been disappointing in the big games. You know, I think everybody thought, you know, with the likes of Man United and Chelsea and Man City stuttering, this would be an ideal opportunity for Arsenal with the players that they've got to go on and maybe win the championship, but they just haven't come up for the goods, and the very, very important games also failed in Europe as well. So I mean, everybody's now asking the question about him, you know, how long is he going to stay there, and it remains to be seen whether he does hang on in there. Every time he gets an interview, he seems to, you know, want to stay. But I think we're getting nearer the time now that he might move to possibly another club, possibly abroad.
Okay, let me bring you the Morton side for today's game, and it should be a good one against Livingston. It's Derek Easton in goal, Thomas O'Weir, Michael Miller, Joe McKee, Ross Forbes, Denny Johnson, Bobby Barr, Mark Russell, Alex Samuel, Luca Gasparetto and Paul McMullen. And if anything, when you're talking about managers that have, I think, fulfilled the remit, Jim Duffy's one of them.
Oh, without a doubt, yes. I was with Jim at Hibs just before I went to Celtic. We got to the playoffs, and I think he was a good manager, but going down south to Chelsea and that, he's learnt an awful lot and come back, and he knows what he wants out of the players. I've been to a couple of games, and a lot of managers nowadays don't shout at the kids because some of them can't take it, but Jim's still that old school, shouting at them, keeping them going and all that, and the credit to what he's achieved there.
Yeah, and here's the Livingston side. Mark McCallum, Craig Halkett, Darren Cole, Ben Gordon, Jackson Longridge, Liam Buchanan, Charlie Telfer, Mark Fotheringham, Samuel Stanton, Jordan White and Scott Pittman. That's a good, experienced team.
Yep, and they'll be trying to get out of that playoff position. He's done remarkably well since he's in there. He's brought a few experienced players in there, and they're playing good football, they're getting good results. So, but this is a big one today. If we could get this one, it would take a wee bit of pressure off them.
Okay, let's get some predictions ahead of the big matches in the Premiership. Let's look at the fixtures first of all to show you what's on offer this afternoon after Motherwell 1, Celtic 2. That's the early kick-off from 12:30. That game finished. Celtic now 8 points clear. Dundee United against Inverness Cally Thistle, Hamilton against Dundee, Kilmarnock St Johnstone and Ross County against Partick Thistle. And that result from the Friday night, Hearts 2, Aberdeen 1. For many that just about kills off any chances of the Dons winning the title this season. You might disagree with us on that. We'd love to hear from you this afternoon. Let's go to Hamilton Dundee. Des, do you see anything in that Hamilton lineup that suggests that they can get a confidence boosting win in that battle to avoid the playoff?
Actually, I just don't think they score enough goals. I think when you consider that Dougie Imrie, top goal scorer for Hamilton with 6 goals, you've got Kane Hemmings on 23 goals, all competitions, Greg Stewart 11 and Rory Loy obviously not playing today, but he's got 8. I just think the firepower that Dundee have today, they are more than capable of taking all 3 points. Obviously I mentioned the home form that Hamilton have. Only 3 wins from 16 games. Last home win 1-0 against Motherwell back 19th of September. I just don't see enough in the team just now to take the points today against Dundee. I expect Dundee to win, and I think they'll win by 2 clear goals.
Okay, a fairly convincing afternoon for the Dark Blues. Do you agree with Des, Ruffy?
No, I don't. I think the midweek game might take its toll eventually in this game. I think that Hamilton will be Hamilton. I think they'll dig in. I think they'll do what they always do. They'll fight together. I agree with Des that there's not a lot of goals in them. So I would think they could possibly get maybe a 1-each draw today.
Gordon?
I think that Des is right in that their home form is shocking. I mean, the last 2 wins basically have been away from home. In the league, I think they won at Inverness, which was a good result, and they won at Kilmarnock as well, which was a crucial one. But I just don't see them getting the goals either. I think in Dundee, I think Dundee will be suited to playing on their pitch, because the kind of football Dundee play, they'll be able to play that kind of football on Hamilton's pitch. So I think it'll be a Dundee win.
I agree with Gordon. You know what you're getting out of the Hamilton players. They give you everything every single game, but I think the goals is a problem, and I think Dundee do score a lot of goals, and I'm going 2-0. Dundee.
What about Dundee United, Darren? It's a club you work closely with Jackie McNamara and Simon Donnelly. You obviously, I would imagine, want to see them escape the drop here. They're against Inverness Cally Thistle. Mixu Paatelainen reckons it's going to go right down to the wire.
I think it will go. When you look at it, it's going to go down to the wire. And we need to, the belief I have in the players in that dressing room. Obviously, I was down last week at York with Jackie and Simon, and obviously we're still praying that they stay up, because you get so close to the boys. Text them before every game. Hopefully they get the result, and I do believe, I've said it and I've gone on record again, that I believe they will stay up, because there's too many good players in that dressing room, and I think they'll win 2-1 today.
Okay, let's get the thoughts of Derek Clark on his game at Rugby Park. Derek, who's going to come out and talk for you?
Clark obviously looking for that first win, not won in 6 games. They can't even find the back of the net in 5 of those games, so it's hard not to look past a St Johnstone win here. But I think Kilmarnock will manage to get a draw here this afternoon. I think it might be a scoring draw.
Okay, a share of the spoils there, which I don't think will suit anybody, Ruffy.
No, it wouldn't. I'm going to stick my neck out here the day and say Kilmarnock are going to get a win. I know the stats don't justify that prediction, but I think with McGuinness and Boyd up front, they're playing a 4-4-2. I don't think they've been far away. I think the Celtic game was encouraging for them. I think they're just knocking on the door, and I think this will be the day that they'll get that win. It would give them a wee bit of breathing space. Okay,
let me bring you the Queen of the South and Wraith Rovers sides for this afternoon. It's a crucial game as well for the Rovers. Thompson, Kidd, Dowie, Brownlee, Higgins, Russell, Tapping, Hutton, Murdoch, Hilson and Oliver for Queen of the South. As far as Wraith Rovers are concerned, Kevin Cuthbert in goal after signing that new deal. Thompson, Toshney, Benedictus, Hardy, Connolly, Longridge, McKeown, Craigan, Robertson and Barr. We're in the Championship. Falkirk, St Mirren, Craig Turnbull. Who do you think is going to win that one?
Well, to be honest, I think Falkirk probably have just a bit, not too much for St Mirren. They've also got a bit more to play for as well, with of course that race for second, and they want to go into the game against Hibs with a bit of momentum. Having said that, St Mirren have just had 1 defeat in the last 5, turned the corner under Alex Leigh, so it certainly won't be an easy game for Falkirk, and they lost 2-1 to Livingston at the Falkirk Stadium the last time I was here, so I think Falkirk will probably just have enough though and edge it 2-1.
Do you agree with that, Gordon Smith?
No, I think that St Mirren, they've had only the 1 defeat in the last 5, and the way Falkirk have been in the last couple of games, it looks as if they've just gone a little bit. They had that opportunity, and maybe it was the pressure coming from the fact that they looked like being the certainty for the second top spot, and all of a sudden now it's back in Hibs' favour. Hibs getting good results there, can catch Falkirk and get above them and put Falkirk down. So it just depends whether they can live with that pressure, and I think that St Mirren are pretty relaxed about this game. So I think that'll be a draw.
Okay, here's a look at the fixtures on offer in the Championship for you, as well as Alloa Hibernian, which we'll keep you up to date with throughout the afternoon. Falkirk, St Mirren, Morton against Livingston, and Queen of the South against Wraith Rovers. Okay, Alloa Hibs, are we envisaging any kind of shock there, Darren?
No, as I said, I was at the last game there, and it was hard. Cummings scored a good goal that day. And I think the way the pitch is, I think it's hard to play on, but I see a Hibs win. I think it'll be 2 or 3-0 today. It's a blow. Alloa's down now. Maybe a bit of pressure off them. They'll maybe just go and play and enjoy it now, rather than having that pressure. But I see a good Hibs win today.
Yeah. Queen of the South against Wraith Rovers.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, they're two good footballing sides, but Wraith are the form team at the moment. I mean, they're doing really well. I know they've confirmed their place. They're not going to get caught for 4 spots, so they're in the playoffs, and I don't think they can get up to second. So it just depends what their attitude is in terms of whether they're resting people, saving them a little bit. You know what I mean? Because this is a meaningless game for Wraith Rovers today, but they have been a form team, and I think maybe they want to keep that momentum going and at least not lose. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, before we leave the championship, Ruffy's got one edge to the afternoon's proceedings, and the edge I'm talking about is, of course, John Baird. Here's the John Bairdometer that we have, Ruffy, and it's 19 for the season. He is 6 short of 25. It's going to be nervy for me. It's going to be close. I know, having and you are well aware that having John Baird in the studio, all his teammates are primed to try and get him the crucial 6 goals before it finishes.
Yeah, and the worrying thing for me is obviously every time there's a penalty, he's going to be taking them. So that would add to him getting a bit. No, all credit to him. Obviously, we are wee side bet. Yeah, I don't want him to get 25, but personally, I think he's a nice guy. Personally, he's a nice guy, and as Darren and Gordon will tell you, to get to 25 goals is a remarkable achievement in a season. So, yeah, good luck to him.
Yeah. The best he's had, Darren, is 22, and that was, I think, a good few years ago. But he's been superb for Falkirk because he's getting a regular game. He looked a frustrated lad at Partick Thistle, just couldn't get in the starting lineup.
Peter, when you're not in the team, we all know when you're not in the team, you're frustrated. It doesn't matter what team you're at, a big team or a small team. You just want to play, and I think he's been fantastic. I think Houston will be delighted with him. The young boy O'Hara's come in, and you can only learn off John Baird because he does everything right as a striker. He comes short, he goes long, he's on the move all the time, and he scores goals. And I think he's had a fantastic season.
Yeah, were you a sulker if you weren't in the team, Dan? Were you one of those guys who would go into a huff, or you just think, I've got to be more determined to get in?
I always played.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't forget we've got a competition this afternoon. It's a Harold Bratback competition, just to test if he actually did always play in games. Gordon, you weren't a sulker. You're going to come out with the same line as
No, I was. If ever I was part of the team, I actually, the best thing that ever happened to me was as I got a little bit older and I was left out of the team, I blamed myself rather than the manager. I used to think, what is it I've done, and make it down to me to get back in the team, not the manager's fault. Because if I wasn't getting picked, I always felt it was something to do with me, because I felt if I was doing my job, the manager would want me in the team. I
was always after the game rather than before the game, because it's the build up to the game, and you don't want to put the boys on a downer because you're sitting with your face stripping you. So it was always after the game that I would have the sulk or a few comments to the manager.
Yeah.
I had this one, Peter, for me I was at Man City, and I was top scorer at the time, playing midfield, and we were playing a game, I think it was Birmingham City, but Billy McNeil, the manager, read the team out, and I wasn't in it. He hadn't even told me, and I was just sitting there thinking, why am I left out today? You know what I mean? So that was a hard one to take.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that period as well. Your work rate was poor, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm only winding you up, Gordon. No point in asking Ruffy, because he always played. It's as simple as that. What Ruffy was a counsellor for the second goalkeeper who was not getting a game, because you were top draw, Ruffy.
A top drawer, just goalkeepers more than the outfield players will get a chance. If you're playing well, you generally are in there for the long run, whereas the players, managers might see different formations, different players to offer more in the team. But no, you're probably right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ruffy. Listen, I can tell you Southampton have scored a goal up on Newcastle United. Shane Long with the goal. He'll want to keep scoring as often as possible for his chances of starting for the Republic of Ireland in France 2016. Cowdenbeath are a goal up on Brechin City. We've got a treble going at the moment: Dundee, Ayr and East Fife. Don't know why we mention it. You guys better have a horse ready as well. I hope you've chosen one for the Grand National. It's the Grand National today, Darren. The look on your face there saying, what? We'll pick a horse. Not that we think it's going to win. It's all a bit of fun on a Saturday afternoon. But Dundee, Ayr and East Fife, Ruffy, I'm confident, like Des of Dundee at New Douglas Park. Ayr against Albion Rovers, a little bit worried. East Fife against Montrose is a shoe-in.
Yeah, I think we've all picked teams that are hopefully up for the challenge that's ahead of them. They've all got something to play for today. Ayr United obviously off the boil a wee bit there, but it's a big game, and as you say, I picked East Fife. It's a bit of a banker, but it's better having a winner than the betting line getting ripped up in 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big apology to all the Montrose fans who are not happy with the programme at the moment. Let's look at League One and the fixtures this afternoon. If there's a goal anywhere that's flying into the back of the net, we'll keep you up to date with it. The League One fixtures: Airdrieonians against Stenhousemuir. It's Ayr United, Albion Rovers, as Ruffy mentioned there. Cowdenbeath already a goal up on Brecon City, and it's Dunfermline against Forfar. As far as League Two is concerned, and the fixtures that you can look forward to and keep your eye on if you've got them on the coupon this afternoon, it's Annan against Arbroath, also Berwick Rangers, Clyde, East Fife Montrose, East Stirling against Queen's Park, and Stirling Albion take on Elgin City. And right away I can tell you, Queen of the South 0, Wraith Rovers 1. Anybody who thought Ray McKinnon's side were going to take their foot off the gas, Ruffy, are mistaken.
Yeah. I mean, the players will be all wanting to be playing in the big important games that are coming up. They'll be hoping, they were talking about being selected, they'll be wanting to be in the team, they'll want to impress the manager, and they'll massive games coming up, and that's what it's all about as far as your Wraith Rovers.
So they are the form team. There's no doubt about that. They're going well, and as Dan and I had been saying earlier on, they just want to keep that momentum going, Peter. Do you know what I mean? So that when the playoffs come about, they haven't dipped off, sort of thing. So I think that's why Wraith will be a difficult opponent for MD in the playoffs when you think about it. Whoever's in there playing them first, whether it's Hibs or Falkirk, will have a hard game against them right away.
Yeah, the type of team, Dan, that you think could... I said to Ruffy, there could be a twist. Thought it might be Falkirk. I still think Hibs will prevail, but, you know, Falkirk probably the greater threat than Wraith Rovers, or am I doing them a disservice?
No, I don't think you are. I think you're being truthful, and that's what you are. But incredible what Ray's done there. I played with McKinnon at Dundee United, and he was a wonderful player. Tremendous footballer, 2 feet. He loved it. He used to go and take a corner and say, I'll play it with my right foot. Then he would just play it with my left foot. And he just loved all that. Wonderful player. And he's taken it to management. He went and learned from the SFA, and then he's taken this job at Brecon and then here. And I think he's done a great job.
Move on. I've got a feeling that this he's building himself. People will be looking at him, I think, and thinking this guy could do it at a higher level.
Well, he probably could. He's got the confidence.
Yeah.
And he's getting experience at Wraith Rovers, which is a great club.
Yeah.
And I think he could take it on. He's up there. He's going to give them a chance, as Peter, as you said. You never know what can happen in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I think what he's achieved up till now is brilliant.
Yeah.
Craig Barr with a goal for Wraith Rovers in that match, and I'll tell you, look at that, Ruffy. What a save that is by Scott Bain. Greg Docherty with the shot, and a good save there from the Dundee keeper. I'm just looking at it from another angle. Got across there well.
Yeah, he did. He's had a fantastic season. Obviously getting introduced into the Scotland squad as well. He's definitely one for the future. I know we keep talking about the 3 goalkeepers we've got at Scotland. They're fantastic, but next couple of years he could be there.
Yeah, let's go to the Falkirk Stadium. There's been a bit of action. There's been a goal there at the Falkirk Stadium. Craig Turnbull.
Yeah, 9 minutes played, Peter. It's Falkirk 1, St Mirren 0. Perfect start for the Bairns. It was Miles Hippolyte who's delivered an in-swinging ball into the box. It's flicked over by a St Mirren defender, and there's Lee Miller at the back post to head in to give Falkirk the lead. Falkirk 1, St Mirren 0.
Why didn't Lee Miller leave that there? Baird was coming in behind him. Surely a chance for John Baird to get on the end of that. That's the way it's going to go. It's just sheer bias, darling, until we get this over to 25 goals. But listen, I'm starting to waver, but thankfully he's got playoff games to look forward to as well. We're throwing everything in the kitchen sink to make sure he gets over the line. Listen, I was hearing a story from Fir Park that Mark McGee had refused to shake Ronnie Dyler's hand at the end of the game. I'd be surprised at that. I mean, I know Mark's a winner. He hates getting beat at anything. You know, today they were beaten by Celtic. You know, I don't know. Maybe there's been a wee bit of needle that we're not privy to.
Well, it happens in dugouts. We all know that. But once the game's finished, it normally everything's okay. You go into the manager's office after the game and have a drink. But something obviously happened, because I wouldn't think it's just the defeat that if Mark has refused to shake his hand. So obviously something's happened between the two dugouts, but I like that.
Yeah. Oh, you don't need to tell me. I used to watch you trackside.
Offered Terry Butcher a square goal in the dugout.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, even I wouldn't have offered Terry Butcher a square go in the dugout, Ruffy. But I have watched him trackside and I thought, he's the only guy I know that could get sent off in the first minute of a game while he's on the pitch, but trackside as well.
I think I don't know. Dan might be better to answer this one. Obviously, I've never been on the touchline. I think that Ronnie Roar thing upsets a few people. I think in the light of day, I don't know. I know why he's doing it. But from the opposition's point of view, it's the gloating side of it.
They're usually a wee in by the time he does it, though.
He was right out on the part of the day.
Yeah,
he was right out as soon as that final whistle went. He was
roughly.
You're
probably right. Ronnie started it, and then I think he probably felt he had to carry it on, and I don't know if it was superstition or that he felt he had to carry it on, but. A few people would get a little bit angry at that, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, Dunfermline and a goal down at home to Forfar.
Yep.
And East Fife are winning, which is good for the coupon.
Yep, absolutely. East Fife are winning by a 1-0 against Montrose. Dunfermline a goal down, but Alan Johnson, I probably won't be winning. They'll probably just be recovering from their title celebration.
They'll be like the Rangers boys not had a drink.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think actually, this is unconfirmed reports. Dunfermline have just come back onto the park from a night out. Now, who can blame them? They've run away with that lead.
Very unprofessional. Remember when we beat Celtic in '71, 4-1. We played Aberdeen the next Saturday and we got beat 7-2.
Why?
I don't need to tell you what happened in between.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you need to celebrate. I don't think too many people will begrudge them that. Dunfermline have been magnificent this season.
Oh, without doubt, yes. Alan and Sandy, a fantastic job, because there's a lot of pressure because they're the biggest club in that division, and there's a lot of pressure to try and get them promotion, try and get them into the Championship, to try and get Dunfermline where they probably should be. But fair credit to them, a fantastic season.
Yeah, absolutely. Just in case you're wondering, Lee Miller got his 9th goal of the season. Falkirk leading in their match against St Mirren. And there's Ross County, a goal up on Partick Thistle. Suddenly they've started to, maybe get back on a bit of form, Ruffy. It's a good confidence-building goal for Jim McIntyre's side. Yeah,
I mean, we saw it for ourselves, on the day when everything clicks, they're good. But they've got very important players in their team. I think the boy Irvin is a big player for them. Obviously, Boyce is a big player as well. Curran's been out for a wee while there, and Gardine, is massive for them. So I think all the way they went off the boil. I think going up to Ross County, it's always a difficult place to try and get a win.
Gavin Swankie scored the goal for Forfar. He's been around for a good few years now. I always seem to mention his name on a Saturday afternoon, getting the odd goal here and there. But Ross County taking the lead. East Fife are a goal up on Montrose on the Saturday. Right across the 4 divisions, will keep you up to date with the goal scorers. Alex Schalk scoring the goal for Ross County. Now, he's a player that I think Jim McIntyre will do well to hold on to. They're talking about him as getting a move in the summer. Yeah,
I think so. He's brought him in. Jim's had good recruitment. I think what Ruffy's saying there, I think Curran and Boyce are a very good front two. Gardine, Midge has had a great season, and I'm a huge fan of Jackson Irvin, who is a guy box to box who's good in both boxes. But the boy Schalk, he's done very well, and he's scoring goals for them. And you can only take it as credit if he moves on to a bigger club. It's credit to Jim.
You got the win on the final for them and all that. So, but Irvin's done well. Irvin originally was a centre back when Celtic took him on as a kid. That's where he started playing. And when he went to Kilmarnock at first, he was getting used as a centre back on loan there. But now I think he's done really well. He's established himself because
he's got too much to be a centre half.
Exactly.
Too much in his game.
He's got a lot of strength and power. So you'd be wasting him if you just had him at the back. And now that he's been moved into midfield, Peter, he is a box-to-box player, and he's strong, he's creative, and he does a great job for
the
him.
set plays is great in both boxes.
Jonathan Page scored that goal for East Fife against Montrose. Just on the point there you were talking about, and we were discussing Alex Schalk. Even if he moves on to a bigger club and has a long and illustrious career elsewhere, Ruffy, 40 years from now, when they have the anniversary dinner, he'll still be rolled out and cheered into the hall in Dingwall.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. You know, once you've put your name in history, nobody forgets, particularly football supporters. You rise to that legend bit, and he could hang about Dingwall for the rest of his life if he want.
Yeah.
Well, if you feel, if you have to.
There's your line, Alex Sharp. You can hang about Dingwall all your life if you want to. Look at Ruffy. He's been hanging about Maryhill on the back of that 1971 League Cup final win against Celtic. And of course, East Stirlingshire 0, Queen's Park 1. We expect Queen's Park to win today, Gordon. I think, because there's a little bit of bias in the studio, I have to be honest about it. We're all hoping that Queen's Park can make the top 4.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, you know, they've actually they won. They've had good games against East Stirling already, but East Stirlingshire beat them the last time they played there. So you know, Queen's Park obviously want to be up there challenging for the league. I don't think they're going to get to the title, but I think they want to be in the playoffs, and they're just outside the top 4 at the moment. But so that it would be a good result if they could win today.
Yep, Jamie McKernan scoring from the penalty spot in that match. Later on in the programme, we're going to hear from Mark Warburton. We will also hear from Jim McAnally. We'll be discussing in greater detail the Petrofac Training Cup today. It's all about the Premier League, Championship, League 1 and League 2. You can give us your thoughts at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. And also we'll keep you up to date with what's happening in the Barclays Premier League. There was an early kick-off. It's finished West Ham 3, Arsenal 3. And of the games this afternoon, the early kick-off at Celtic Park, and there you can see it there. The only other goal is Shane Long's goal against Newcastle. So it's 1-0 to Southampton against Newcastle. But the only other early kick-off was Motherwell 1, Celtic 2. Were they worthy of the 3 points, Darren?
I think they were. Obviously Griffiths has missed a penalty. I don't think Motherwell had too many chances. The Motherwell goalkeeper, who's cost the goal at the end through his legs, had a wonderful game, and he's probably, I would imagine, at the game he's been given man of the match because some of his saves were fantastic. But so I think Celtic, the pressure on them, I think they coped with it and they deserved to win the game.
Yeah, you know, I think the question has been asked why there wasn't a shake of hands, and I think Mark McGee just mentioned the words "I don't know." So there you are. When managers,
Ronnie Dyler refused to shake hands with him.
well, I'm not sure. Listen, you never know, but you don't want to. You don't want to actually just speculate on that one, but I'm sure that story will emerge over the next 24 hours, if not earlier. Can I tell you, it's Dundee United 0, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 1. Miles Story with a goal. Ruffy.
Yeah, it's a massive blow, particularly for the home crowd, who would go along there today expecting a home win with the form that Inverness have been on. But still a wee while to go in this one, but that's a setback for them, there's no doubt.
Yep, that's a major setback. Just got to go back to you on that, Ruffy. Is this the day?
It depends on all the other results, Peter. I mean, Dan's already touched on, what did you say, 3 points tried at the split? I said 4 or 5. But then again, we were talking about it the other day. What were we saying? A computer is going to make up the split.
Yeah. Yes.
Depends on when you get the teams that are immediately above you. You know, there could be 5 games and they could get maybe Hamilton and Command in the last 2 games. And that's it, done and dusted. You know, you want them early on so you can claw the
well, it'd be a massive
back.
factor. If Command were to win today, say, and Dundee United were to lose, it would be a difficult time for them to get into the playoffs. About 8 points behind, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, you look at, there's only 15 points to play for. You know, already.
I would say 8 points is a
probably too much. Yeah.
Is it?
8 points. If it's 8 points, no chance.
Okay, so today is the day. Berwick 1, Clyde 0 in League 2. Well, I thought it was going to come sooner or later, Ruffy, but I never thought I still thought you'd go for the mathematical equation, but today is the day when...
Oh, we haven't got a Commander win yet.
Yeah, well, that's another thing I know, absolutely. But listen, the great thing about this programme is we love to speculate on, you know, mayhem madness. Let's just tell you about our poll that we've got going this afternoon, and I think it's really a poll only for the most ardent of Aberdeen fan, because you can see there with Celtic now 8 points in front. Is there too big a gap for Aberdeen to still contest the title? And the score at the moment is 90% yes and 10% no, who've said no. So a big thanks there to the 10% who voted. That was Leighton McKimmie, Doug Rugby, Willie Miller and Alex McLeish, and you can rhyme off the rest of them if you want. I just think when I looked over the stats and continually looked at October, they lost 4 games. Celtic won the 4 games in that month of October as well. But of their consecutive victories, that month there was where I thought Aberdeen had the greatest opportunity to really turn the screw on them. Gordon Smith, they weren't able to do it. And significant results against teams that you would have expected them to win against, I think, has been their undoing.
Exactly, and it's happened again. I mean, there's an opportunity they got from, circumstances, the results in the last few weeks. A game last night, they're leading, a chance to go on and just hold it, win, and they don't, and then Celtic pick up the points today. I must be honest with you, even if it had been 8 points in September, a lead, I'd probably been saying I still think Celtic will win the league. I never ever thought Aberdeen could win the league. I thought it was going to be Celtic's title, and it's good that we've got a challenge on there and it's close. That's what we want to see in Scottish football. But I never thought that there was a chance that Aberdeen would win the league.
I can tell you, Blair Henderson scored the goal for Berwick. Look at that, Ruffy. Great cross in there from McGuinness. Look at the shot from Boyd. It comes back off the post. What an opportunity that was there.
Yep, and he had opportunities the week before against Partick Thistle. Not like him. You would think 3 or 4 yards out, he would be with the confidence to just hit the back of the net, but that's just what happens when you're not scoring goals regularly. The confidence drops a wee bit, the arrogance drops a wee bit, but he'll still be there and thereabouts, and I'm sure Kilmarnock will be looking for him to.
I think getting McGuinness back in will be good today, Ruffy. I think he is a strong player for Kilmarnock, and they do create more, I think, when McGuinness is playing.
Oh, without a doubt. Speaking to Michael O'Neill, and he loves Josh McGuinness, what he gives to the team, what he gives off the park as well. He's the great boy off the park, and I think what he'll give to Chris Boyd will be great as well. And it's just we're talking about strikers earlier, about Griffiths' movement in the box. Boyd has done it his whole career. His movement's great in the box.
I can tell you, Gylfi Sigurdsson scored the goal for Swansea. They're leading Chelsea by 1-0. So Gylfi Sigurdsson scoring the goal for Swansea. Josh Todd has scored for Annan against Arbroath. And I think Jim Chapman, like Barry Ferguson, that league is so tight, Gordon. It's incredible, top and bottom of League Two.
Oh, it's been amazing. I mean, we've been looking at all year there, and it's just there's nothing between the teams at all, and it's been a tremendous league, as I say, and it's very, very hard to actually predict scores in that league, that's for sure. But I mean, at least Fife, Ruffy's done a good one today, a good choice. Probably very low odds you got in that one, Ruffy, am I right?
Yeah, but even if it was 1-4, it would still be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, obviously, there's no such thing as a bad profit.
No, and I can tell you, Chris Boyd has scored for Kilmarnock. They've got the goal, and Chris Boyd free kick. And a side foots that into the bottom corner. Well, he has come up trumps. He's been, a key player for Kilmarnock a couple of seasons back. Ended up going to Rangers. Not the best of moves, back to his old club, then to Kilmarnock again. Look at that free kick. Side footing it into the bottom corner, Ruffy. Just a replay there. Look at him. He's jumping up and down, punching the air with delight. And of course, as you can see there, it's windy down there and his hair is just flowing in the air. I mean, that new hairstyle is just it's making him a slipstream player when it comes to free kicks.
Yeah, he looks 10 years younger, but I think the goalkeeper needs to have a look at himself. To get caught with a side foot for a free kick is just not on.
Yeah, that's
never happened to you, no?
Not only the outside of the foot and curl over
Absolutely. And don't forget, Tefelo Kubias will be joining us on next week's programme to talk about the 2 goals he scored against Ruffy that absolutely killed off the nation. Annan 2, Arbroath 1. Goals flying in there as well for Jim Chapman's side. Annan 2, Arbroath 1. But that big goal, that's a massive goal in the broad scheme of things for Kilmarnock.
Oh yeah, Yeah, and so that's what we're just saying about in terms of the turnaround with Dundee United being a goal down and Kilmarnock now being a goal up. I mean, these kind of things are major factors in football. I mean, there's a long way to go for both games. There's both over an hour to go in both games. But if that was to continue and that ends up being the results, then this is a key day for Dundee United if they lose today and Kilmarnock win.
Yep, it'll be a real blow, and financially, and I think this is the point that quite a lot of people miss out on, Darren. Football looked upon as one of these jobs. It's a luxury. There's this perception that a lot of players are on big money. Not in the Scottish Premiership nowadays. Only, maybe the top 2 or 3 get half decent money. A lot of Dundee United players will lose their jobs. Some will be sold on. And they'll have to drop to Championship wages.
Yeah, well, it's not happened yet, but the prospect of it happening would be a disaster for a club in a whole. But players, they're not on. I don't know what the budget is. I know some of the players' wages. It's not what people think. It's a good wage. It's a great job, but it's not. But I think what's probably could happen up at Tannadice is they're obviously 1-0 down. The fans will be on a little bit of downer, but they've probably heard that Kilmarnock are 1-0 up, so that it'll be a somber atmosphere up there, and they need to try and lift the team rather than going quiet. They need to start trying to get them going, and it depends if they're going down the hill. I always like going down the hill at Tannadice, and always like going down the hill second half. So that plays a big part.
Did you feel, Dan, when you were there, that the supporters, when things weren't going particularly well, went into a shell and never responded? Rather than, you see some supporters, who continually get behind their team. I always thought Dundee United, there was so many things going off the park that as soon as a goal went in, everything just got heaped on the top and the players suffered.
Yeah, well, I think that's what happened with us. Too many things were going off the park that affected the fans and got through to Jackie and Alice's staff, which was wrong. For what we had put on the park, I thought we deserved a little bit more, but it happens. You just have to get on with it, and you just hope they survive. But at this moment in time, it's looking tough, but there's still a long way to go.
Yep, there is a long way to go, and lots more. In fact, quite a few twists and turns, I would suggest, over the course of the afternoon. Goals flying in, Petrofac Training Cup to look forward to. Of course, we might even touch on the game coming up in the Scottish Cup semi-final, Rangers against Celtic. It's a game that I think everybody, the countdown coming up is going to be incredible. They'll be rolling out all the ex-Celtic and Rangers players for this game, which is like nothing on earth.
It is like nothing on earth. I've been fortunate to be over at a new camp for a Barcelona Real Madrid game, and I can honestly say it was amazing, fantastic, but nothing like an Old Firm game, because it's split. There was 100,000 Barcelona fans, 300 Real Madrid fans up in the gods. Yeah. Honestly, they're closer to the moon than they were to the pitch. But an Old Firm game, there's the atmosphere is just nothing like it, and it's obviously been a little while since there's been one, and I think it's just great. Yeah. Brilliant.
Did you play in many of them? How many did you play?
I played in 5. I lost 2, drew 2, and won 1. Yeah. The one with Lamberts and Burley scored.
Yes.
I remember that. Yeah. It was a good day.
Yeah. Do you hear the crowd, Gordon? Are you able to block it out? Some people say they're so focused that they don't hear it.
You don't hear a thing. You just feel it. You feel the atmosphere, and there's noise, but you're concentrating on your football. Yeah. I mean, people could say all the light. I remember at times somebody would say, like a certain game, we saw fans were singing your name. I never heard it, because when you're on the park, Peter, you do not know about anything else except the match.
And I can tell you, Hamilton have taken the lead. 1-0 to Hamilton Accies. What a big goal. Ali Crawford has scored from the penalty spot, just drilling it low into the bottom corner. And I can tell you, just there at the penalty spot, fires it into him. Ziggy Gordon actually played it to him, and on the penalty spot there, I'm just looking at it again. He's hit that low and true. Ali Crawford hasn't had a great season, and he's just drilled it into the bottom corner. Great, I'm just seeing it again there, brilliant.
No, he hasn't. He's been out with an injury for a wee while there, and I think Hamilton have suffered. But we all know what he can do. He's another box-to-box player. He's always there or thereabouts for a shot at goal. But to take the pressure of taking the penalty is a good one, and that's another nail in Dundee United. Hamilton getting that lead.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's one of those afternoons where it doesn't seem to go for them. Just correction there, it wasn't a penalty. It was just the way there's so many players jumping in front. I couldn't see that from the angle, Ruffy. I think he's just fired it in from the penalty spot. So there you are. Sometimes I make it up in my head as I go along, Ruffy, to be perfectly honest with you.
It depends what screen you're watching.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Colombo. They still haven't solved it as yet, but I'll give you the result of that shortly. Dunfermline have equalised. Somebody's just come off Jackie O's in the dance-off final and moved onto the pitch and scored. It's Dunfermline 1-4-1. I can go through every nightclub across the country, Ruffy. I've been in them all. And Dunfermline, I think, they've been partying last week, but they'll be back on the job to try, I think, sometimes, a lot of fans don't realise this, Ruffy, but you know, points actually get a greater reward. It means money. Dunfermline, the more points they get, they'll get even more money from the SPFL.
Yeah, and then even when you, not the top clubs, but the clubs underneath, again, Darren will know more than anybody, a budget is so crucial, you know, everything, wee extra penny that you bring in, whether it's 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, people don't appreciate it. That could be 2 players' wages, you know, that you're hoping that the owners would pass your way. Sometimes it disappears the other way, but I mean, every penny that you bring in, you're looking for a wee bit of that the next year, and that's why it's so crucial.
Yeah, well, you think about it and you look at your squad and you think, well, could we put him out on loan or put them out on loan, maybe younger kids to learn, and it brings you in a bit wage that you could add to maybe what you've got, so that helps.
The other factor, the players will be playing for a bonus today. When you think about
yes,
it, I mean, they'll not be in big wages, so the bonuses have got a big effect at that level. There's no doubt about it. So they'll be wanting to win.
Yeah, good goal as well there from Moffat. A great ball from Wallace, and he's just run away from 2 players before slotting it into the back of the net. So that's the equaliser for the Pars. Let's bring you up to date with the latest scores across all the divisions. There's the Scottish Premiership, the early kick-off. Motherwell 1, Celtic 2. It's Dundee United 0, Inverness Cally Thistle 1, Hamilton Accies 1, Dundee 0, Kilmarnock 1, St Johnstone 0, and Ross County 1, Partick Thistle 0. And there's Hearts 2, Aberdeen 1. In the Championship, Falkirk, I think, have actually had a goal chalked off. They are just ruled offside. So it's still Falkirk 1, St Mirren 0, Lee Miller with a goal. Alloa 0, Hibernian 0, Morton 0, Livingston 0, and Queen of the South 0, Wraith Rovers 1. Into League 1, Airdrie 0, Stenhousemuir 0. Ayr United against Albion Rovers, still waiting on a goal there. It's Cowdenbeath 1, Brecon City 0, and Dunfermline 1, Forfar 1. In League 2, Annan Athletic 2, Arbroath 1, Berwick Rangers 1, Clyde 0, East Fife 3, Montrose 0, East Stirlingshire 0, Queen's Park 1, and no goals between Stirling Albion and Elgin City. What about the Barclays Premier League this Saturday afternoon? I can tell you Livingston have taken the lead against Morton. Morton 0, Livingston 1. In the Premier League, West Ham 3, Arsenal 3 in the early kick-off. No goals between Aston Villa, Bournemouth or Crystal Palace against Norwich. Southampton 1, Newcastle 0, Swansea 1, Chelsea 0, Watford Everton. Manchester City West Brom kicks off at 5:30, but Watford against Everton, no goals there as well. So there you have it. That's you up to date with the main leagues. Of course, all 4 divisions in Scotland. We're going to keep you up to date with that. And the Barclays Premier League, Ruffy, I just wonder, and I look at Arsenal, and this was a great opportunity this season for them to try and win the Premier League, and it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's why Leicester are where they are. You know, every time we've come up and looking for them to slip up, they haven't. They'll grind out a 1-0, 1-0. And while that's been happening, everybody round about them have just been cutting each other up. You know, they've all been dropping points. Arsenal, Man City, they've all been drawing when they've been Liverpool, Tottenham. And that's why they are where they are. But we're all still looking for this defeat, and it doesn't seem to be coming. And all credit to them for digging in.
But at times Arsenal looked the best side, Peter. I mean, they did play some lovely football at times, and you're thinking they could challenge for the league this year, and they should be challenging when somebody like Leicester City are above them, and 10 points clear them at the moment. Tottenham have played nice football as well, so they're the biggest challenge that Leicester have. But Man City and Arsenal, I think, have both been a disappointment.
Yep, Jordan White gets the goal for Livingston at Capello against Morton. That's his 14th goal of the season. We're getting ever closer, I think, Dan, to most of the footballers across all the divisions starting to hand back their nominations for Player of the Year and Manager of the Year. It's so tough at times. When we were talking about it earlier, 2 or 3, I think Dunfermline, if anybody pips Elback to it, I'll be gobsmacked.
Yes.
We've got a battle in the Championship. I think it's fairly straightforward in the Premiership. Yeah. Have we got any thoughts whatsoever in League 2 for you guys?
There's
a shout. I've caught you all in the hop there, haven't I?
No, but I think you're right with the Premiership.
Yeah.
And I think you're right with League 1. I've said John McGinn, but obviously there's going to be 4 or 5 in there that the nominations are going to be, I'll give it to him and he'll give it, and it's going to be tight. It's going to be very tight. And whoever wins it in the Championship, they will deserve it because they've all had good seasons. That's just my opinion on John McGinn. But League 2...
the boy we had with Jim Chapman in, and he was saying the boy Weatherspoon, who's been about quite a lot. He relies on his experience, and he has been coming up with some of the goals. So I tend to think when you get down the divisions, there's generally a goal scorer.
Gary Naismith was raving about Kevin Smith, his captain, who's had a good season for them.
Okay, I'm just looking. Graziano Pella has scored the second of the afternoon for Southampton against Newcastle. It's hard to believe that we could be talking about Newcastle heading down to the Championship of all seasons this season, when there's so many people looking at the money that's on offer, Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, they've all got a huge amount of money even, but they don't want to be down in division. And I think the Premiership would miss Newcastle. They've got a fantastic support there. They're a great club, and I think that would be a real shame. And the other side of it is they could be going down along with Sunderland. I mean, you've got a big North East derby there that will become a Championship derby, and I think that would be a shame too. And the thing about it is that this is a big day. I think I was looking at Crystal Palace's results this season, or of late, I should say, and they've been pretty poor. And Norwich are playing there today, and this would be a big day for Norwich to get a win, because Leicester play Sunderland tomorrow. There's a good chance Sunderland will lose that one, and with Newcastle losing today, then this would be a big day if Norwich could get a win at Palace. Yeah,
I think to see 2 teams from the North East Trophy though go out is it's not good for that area, to be perfectly honest with you. You want to see the interest from all regions in the Premier League.
Yeah, you do, but sometimes these teams might have to get in a division. There's no point in them being in the bottom 3 year in, year out, although there's like 100 million quid at stake, and that's what you would want. But sometimes when you get in a division, you can regroup, and a Sunderland or a Newcastle up the top of the Championship would just get the same crowds.
Hey, I'll tell you, Ruffy, Callum Higginbottom's got the ball in the back of the net for Kilmarnock, and the referee's just ruled it offside. He's just looked towards his linesman. He's got the flag up there. He's agreed with him. It was very, very close indeed. I don't think Callum Higginbottom is too happy with the decision there. So that could have been another goal, and a vital one for Killie. Will there be a twist at Rugby Park on that one? We'll get the half-time assessment from Derek Clark. Also, John McGinn, I can tell you, he's hit one from distance, and I think Hibs wanted a penalty. They thought there was a handball in the box there, so again, no way through for Hibs against Alloa. We thought that one was going to be a fairly straightforward affair there, Gordon.
Yeah, but I think Darren was right in respect to, I know that a lot of the teams don't like playing at Alloa's pitch. It is the one AstroTurf pitch that gets a lot of criticism. I don't hear I've never heard any yet saying it's actually good to play on it. So the Hibs, with the way kind of football Hibs play, they might be a bit uncomfortable there, but the main thing for them is just to get the result today. Even they might know that Falkirk are leading, and if Falkirk are winning and win this game today, then Hibs also have to pick up full points.
Peter, not even just the pitch that Jack Ross has brought in. I mean, I think it's 10 yards each side, which I think's is fine, but not during the season. If you want to make your pitch a certain, and you're allowed, that's fine, and understood why he was doing it, to try and make it a lot tighter, so his players, because it's a massive pitch.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's right, and it's in the rules they can, but I don't think it's right during the season.
Can I tell you something? Brophy's just been brought down by Echebegarin of Dundee. It's a penalty. It looks as if Garcia is just popping up here to take this one from 12 yards. Jesus Garcia. Jesus to his mates, by the way. And he's going to come up here. And he scored, by the way. Absolutely magnificent for the Accies fans. They're all going crazy there. And Scott Bain with no chance. What a confident penalty that was. And that's 2-0 now. Ruffy, 2-0 to the Accies.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at my notes to see if you three experts had a Dundee win there.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, absolutely. We do. We absolutely did. And I'm looking at.
We haven't got it. We're okay.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Oh, we haven't.
Yeah.
Again.
I don't remember that.
No.
You put the coop on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Forgotten already.
I should not take Falkirk.
Listen, I just thought Dundee. I mean, I'm looking at them and I'm thinking to myself, look at Gary Harkins on the bench. Time to get him on the pitch.
I agree. And the form that Hamilton are in, as I said before, I thought the pitch would suit Dundee, the kind of footballers they've got. I mean, I know there is a bit of time to go yet, but unbelievable.
And I can tell you something, that Dougie Imrie has just been squaring up to Paul Hartley. He's been booked for a challenge there, and I don't think Paul Hartley's too happy about it. I'm just looking, and again, he's just smashed into Kerr. Paul Hartley is just rushing across to the touchline. Dougie Imrie's, face to face, and they've pulled him away. Dougie this season.
I've got a funny feeling that happened before, where with Dougie Imrie, where he ran over to the opposition.
Yeah, he scored the goal and then he ran over and celebrated. I'm trying to remember the team.
I think it was Dundee. I think it was. There must be something simmering there.
I think you might be right. By the way, I think there was an altercation up at Dens Park, and I think Jerry McCabe had to be restrained, which takes some doing, I have to tell you. So Dougie, I like Dougie Imrie just basically because it's probably why you're here, Darren. We like players who can start a fight on their own in a phone box.
Thanks.
But he's that type of player. He's feisty.
Yeah, he gives his all, plays off the cuff, and he gets involved sometimes. But that's just the passion in him. I don't think there'll be anything in between the managers. I don't know the history, but I like that. His team's struggling just now, and that's what you need. People that are going to fight your cause, not literally.
No, absolutely. Did you subconsciously, and this is probably getting an insight into what type of person you were, did you subconsciously think, okay, if I go out here and I unsettle the other players, or were you just so committed and so focused on the way you were going to play the game? Because, I often sum you up by Darren Jackson was the type of player that you hated if you were in the opposition, but suddenly the fans loved you if they suddenly warmed to the type of player you were in their team.
Yeah, Peter, I went on the park to win games. Now people say you always got to stick. I wasn't there to please the away fans. I was there to please my manager, my teammates, and the home fans. So if I had to do something to try and win, not out of order, but I was there to try and win a game, and as I say, if I upset people, I didn't care.
Did you thrive on the stick?
I thrived on it.
Yeah, I thought you might.
It's a bit like Scott Brown. I think Scott Brown thrives on it.
Yeah.
And I think it gets players up, and it did get me up when you started giving it a bit stick, and I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. Was there a particular player that you could think of? And I can tell you, Everton have scored. It's Watford 0, Everton 1. James McCarthy scoring the goal there. That'll do his Republic of Ireland chances no harm whatsoever. Getting back to a little bit of form, scoring a goal. Martin O'Neill will undoubtedly notice that. And I can tell you, Alloa have scored against Hibernian. They're 1-up. What a twist that is, Ruffy. What about Hibs? They just can't keep it tight at the back.
And Darren's already touched on the park. I'm not saying that's 100% what's to blame with it. When we saw Rangers going there and struggling. Yeah. And on their day, they've been known to put up a good fight. But again, with Alan Stubbs, you're looking at that and you're looking at the players you've got at your disposal. And even although taking the park into consideration, you should be good enough to go there and get a win.
Yeah, of course. As I say, I was there the game before they played, and it was a hard game. It's hard to get the ball down and really play because the surface is poor. But I mean, if what they're going for second place, they need to win games like this, especially when Alloa are already relegated.
Yeah.
Aston Villa 0, Bournemouth 1, and I think when you look at Eddie Howe's job, Ruffy, I think tremendous. I think he only needs possibly maybe 2 points, maybe 3 more, and I think they're safe. Cook scoring the goal for them.
Yeah, I think right from when they got promoted, even when you listen to him, he's very positive in everything he does. He doesn't go in and sit in any games. He goes and tries. It doesn't matter who he's playing. They try and win the game, whether they're losing 3 or 4 or whatever. And sometimes you get the benefit of that. When you come up against teams you should be beating.
I can tell you, Watford have equalised Hollybass. It's something you put with a nice white wine sauce over it, chips, potatoes, carrots, whatever takes your fancy. But he scored the goal in the right place at the right time. Hey, there you are, Ruffy. Managed to get a fish joke in as well. Saturday afternoon.
Peter, I think the Bournemouth, that'll take them on to 41. I think
that's enough.
And I was speaking to Mark Burchell, who went down after he left Livingston. He went down to watch Eddie Howe for the week, and he was very, very impressed. And I've dealt with Eddie a few times, and I think he's done a fantastic job. Ranieri should be manager of the year.
Yeah.
But Eddie Howe, and if Alec Neil survives, another 2 managers that have had great seasons.
I think Alec Neil's remit is quite simply just 17th position.
Yeah, definitely. And as I say, if they could, they're drawing at the moment 0-0, they'll be getting to half time. But if they could just win that game today, pick up the full points with Newcastle, definitely probably going to lose there. Sunderland struggling tomorrow, then that put Norwich in a really strong position and going forward. So I think Alec Neil, could keep them up. And as you say, Peter, that would also be a marvellous job. Eddie Howe's done a great job, and Alec Neil would be doing similarly. Ranieri, an amazing job considering to win the league with the resources. These teams, although there's a lot of money in England, other teams have more money.
Yep, I tell you, the big shock from the Championship is Alloa, a goal up on Hibernian. Livingston managed to do that, Ruffy, and then Hibs fought back. And I can tell you, what a save from Scott Bain. Ali Crawford with a header. It was just from the left-hand side. It looked as if it was going to get into the bottom corner, and he's gone full length, Ruffy. And as you see there, his outstretched arm, I think even you would have been proud of that one.
Yeah, I'm surprised he never held that one. He's given away another corner, which if you're a really good goalkeeper, you try and keep a hold of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the look on Darren's face there. Just as you mentioned, I'm surprised he never held on to it. As if we've got a back catalogue of Betamax videos of Ruffy holding on to many a shot. Anyway, coming up, we're going to get the half times across the country after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Half times across the country. We'll be giving you the latest scores, but we're off to New Douglas Park first of all to get the half time report from Des McKeown.
Time here, Peter. It's Hamilton 2, Dundee 0. The home side are on track to get their first home victory since the 19th of September 2015, and to be fair, they have totally dominated the 45 minutes. They made the breakthrough on the half hour. It was a deep Darren McKinnon cross. Ziggy Gordon coming in at the back post, headed it back down, back away from the goal to Ali Crawford, who was standing almost directly on the penalty spot. He never had to be asked twice. He absolutely smashed a volley down low beyond Scott Bain to open the scoring. 10 minutes later, it was to Eamon Brophy down the left hand side. He cut right along the byline. Etsubegerin trying to get the ball, trying to get a tackle, and ended up pulling him down. It was a bit of a tangle. John Beaton pointed directly to the spot. Jesus Garcia Tena left-footed, battered beyond Bain into the left-hand side of the net. That was the way it stayed until half-time, but I'll tell you, Brophy went very, very close early on. Another great save by Scott Bain, and it was then Brophy from about 18 yards on the 20-minute mark. Another brilliant Bain save, and right on half-time, Ali Crawford from a header from Ziggy Gordon. It was a fantastic header from Ali Crawford. It was just going right into the top corner. Scott Bain again tipped over the bar. Kane Hemmings has went close from distance. That's all Dundee have offered. Hamilton total control, 2-0 at half-time.
Okay, thanks to Des. Let's go to Rugby Park, find out what's happening there after 45 minutes with Derek Clark.
Kilmarnock 1, St Johnstone 0, and could Lee Clark be heading for his first win as Kelly Bosser certainly deserved their half-time lead. The goal came courtesy of a Chris Boyd free kick in 25 minutes when he side-footed the ball into the back of the net from around 20 yards out. That was ironically Boyd's first goal since the 5th of December. What an important goal it may turn out to be. Boyd has also struck the inside of the post, while Callum Higginbotham had the ball in the net but was flagged off for offside. Josh McGuinness, just 2 minutes before the break, also forced an acrobatic save out of his Northern Ireland countryman Alan Mannis. Kilmarnock have out-muscled what's been a very poor St Johnstone performance. Danny Swanson's had their best chance with a close range effort that was well saved by Jamie McDonald. No doubt Tommy Wright will be giving his players the hairdryer treatment in the dressing room. Half time here, Kilmarnock 1, St Johnstone 0.
Okay, let's look towards the half-times then. In the Premiership, there was one match that kicked off early. It's Motherwell 1, Celtic 2, Dundee United 0, Inverness Cali Thistle 1, Hamilton 2, Dundee 0, Kilmarnock 1, St Johnstone 0, and Ross County 1, Partick Thistle 0. Hearts, of course, winning against Aberdeen last night at Tynecastle by 2-1. Into the Championship, Alloa 1, Hibernian 0, Falkirk 1, St Mirren 0, Morton 0, Livingston 1, and Queen of the South 0, Wraith Rovers 1. In League 1, Airdrie 0, Stenhousemuir 0, Ayr United 0, Albion Rovers 0, Cowdenbeath 1, Brecon City 0, and Dunfermline 1, Forfar 1. Scottish League 2, Annan Athletic 2, Arbroath 1, Berwick Rangers 1, Clyde 0, East Fife 3, Montrose 0, East Stirlingshire 0, Queen's Park 3, and Stirling Albion 0, Elgin City 0. Let's look at the Barclays Premier League. Early kick-offs finish now. West Ham 3, Arsenal 3, Aston Villa 0, Bournemouth 1, Crystal Palace 0, Norwich 0, Southampton leading by 2-0, and Swansea and Watford have a goal up on Chelsea. Watford 1, Everton 1. Made that one by the skin of my teeth. This is the first time I've Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. The speed of these guys on a Saturday afternoon is absolutely incredible. Getting here to the studios and of course in the breaks, it's just magnificent to watch them looking at and studying all the forum here. Hopefully they'll come up with a winner in the Grand National for us as well. But as far as the afternoon is concerned, let's switch our attention to the Championship. Falkirk against St Mirren. Craig Turnbull is there.
Falkirk are on to a winner, Peter. Falkirk 1, St Mirren 0, and Lee Miller's 9th goal this season has given the Bairns the lead at half-time. It's been a fairly entertaining first half. Falkirk well in the ascendancy, and they scored after about 9 minutes when it was Miles Hippolyte in from the start for Paul Watson, delivered the ball into the box, and Jack Bairds tried to clear it, but he just flicked it into the path of Lee Miller, who was at the back post, and just headed it past Langfield in goal. The Bairns continued to dominate the proceedings, and Hippolyte should have, well, he thought he had a second when he was played through. A great ball from Mark Kerr, and he's had a great strike. He's went into the top corner, but the linesman's flag has cut short his celebrations. Alex Ray will probably want to see more from his St Mirren side in an attacking sense. Cooper did have a chance in the box when it fell to him, but he blazed over the bar. But they really want more in this second half from St Mirren. At half time, it's Falkirk 1, St Mirren 0.
Okay, thanks to Craig Turnbull for the update there. We'll keep you up to date on any goals in the second half, and the second half just getting underway right across the country. We'll also keep you up to date with the Barclays Premier League 2. If you have a coupon on, it looks as if our coupon has gone bust after Dundee. Hamilton Accies certainly looking as if they are in the mood. Let's just go back to Des McKeown. Des, we talk about Dougie Imrie and his battling qualities. I was trying to remember the game where he'd been pulled up before for over-celebrating a goal, but he's a feisty character, Dougie.
About it, Peter, he's been involved in various different skirmishes over the years, and I think even when he first came to Hamilton, he came here from Clyde way back. First time he came to Hamilton, I think that was on the back of a really nasty challenge with one of the Hamilton players when he was at Clyde. So he arrived here, the fans didn't take to him initially, but hearing Darren talking earlier on about his experience of it didn't really matter to him what the opposing fans thought of him. It was all about making sure that his players, his fans and his manager were happy with him. That's just Dougie Imrie, right to a T. He is absolutely 100% at every go. And I've been speaking to a number of various different managers this week regarding the recruitment for next season, and guys like Dougie Imrie would always be top of the list because you know exactly what you're getting. He's going to give you everything he's got, and he's got ability as well. He's been tearing up and down this left hand side today. He put in a great shift in the first half. Dundee are going to have to make changes. I see Gary Harkins is now coming on for the second half here at New Douglas Park. But Dougie Imrie, if every player in the team gave as much as Dougie Imrie, then football would certainly be a more honest place.
Yeah. Are you surprised, Des, by what Dundee have had to offer today, or has it been more about the desire from Hamilton?
I think it's been twofold, Peter. I think that Paul's formation hasn't quite worked. Greg Stewart's been playing in a hole behind Kane Hemmings, and pardon me while I have a quick swatch of this behind, there we go. That tells you everything. Craig Whiting, that tells you how little Craig Whiting is taking part in the game, because I can't actually remember him being in the ball, and I think Gary Harkins has now come in to play in the hole, and Greg Stewart can move up top. It just hasn't worked for Paul today. And as far as Hamilton are concerned, yes, they are applying themselves really well. Ali Crawford, Darian McKinnon and Greg Docherty in the middle of the park are really controlling the game. And Eamon Brophy, young man who has scored, I think, home and away against Celtic this season for Hamilton, has been a real handful. And Izu Beguerin has already been booked and could have been given another yellow card for the penalty incident, but wasn't. They've had their hands full with Hamilton's desire, movement and application. And we're just about to start the second half, Peter. Gary Harkins on for Craig Whiting.
No surprise that change. He's got all the talent in the world, Gary Harkins. Sometimes you can put it down to fitness, sometimes the games that just don't suit him, but when he's on his game, he can destroy teams.
Oh, he's a fantastic player, great ability. But just listen to Des before the game, them setting up at Hamilton setting up as a 3 and a 5. I think he's just trying to stifle it in the middle of the park to stop Dundee playing. But consequently, they've gone on and played very well themselves. But I think that was probably initially to try and try and stop Dundee. But yeah, Gary Harkins could turn this game, and I wasn't very impressed with Brophy. I think the goal he scored at Hamilton, we were talking earlier about Chris Boyd, Lee Griffiths, a corner came over and he was the only one that just didn't stand. He was all on the move, and that's how he got his goal against Celtic, and I think he is a goal scorer. Yeah,
I can tell you Josh Todd has got a brace today in their mem against Arbroath. It's Annan Athletic 3, Arbroath 1, and I think quite a few people looking at Todd. He might be one of those players that gets a move up another division, Gordon, when you start scoring goals on a regular basis. And the one thing about Jim Chapman is he has to scour every possible nook and cranny to find players that'll go down, and play for him in Annan.
He's one of the few players I do know in that division that he's come to attention, you know what I mean, and you understand there is a bit of interest in him, and I thought, he's probably in contention for the Player of the Year too down in that league. But I think that I feel at times the teams don't look enough at the higher level down in the lower divisions. They tend to have a kind of bad attitude towards it. But there are players playing in the lower divisions who could make the step up.
Peter, I can vouch for that. Andy Robertson, Blair Spittle, Paddy Connolly and Greg Stewart.
Yeah.
There's 4 players who are fantastic players. And obviously Andy's going on to another level. And I think he'll go on to a bigger level and a top level because he's got that in him.
Yeah, I think this summer.
Paul Hartley as well, going to Cowdenbeath.
Oh, that's sort of Greg Stewart. Yeah,
so Greg Stewart and them. So they are, if you can prepare to take a gamble on them.
Yeah. It's actually going and finding them and finding the right one, but it's playing them. Just putting them in and playing them, because some players react to playing with better players. Yeah. And I think the players that we got, without a doubt, reacted to that.
Absolutely. You talk about Andrew Robertson there. I mean, he played 4 times against Rangers in that season when Rangers were in the same league, and yet they didn't see it. And I saw one of the games, and he was outstanding in the game. Dan.
People say that to me, Gordon, but they had Lee Wallace there, so maybe it wasn't a priority.
No.
And thankfully for us, but it was let go by Celtic because, well, seemingly he was too small. But you can't keep everyone. No. I mean, you've got to take a gamble on some, and they just didn't. But Andy, to his credit, didn't say, I've been released by Celtic. He went to
he had a good attitude, and he was determined to show that.
Unbelievable. And from the minute he walked in the door at Tannadice, he was first class.
Yeah. Yep, Ryan has scored 4-4 for against Dunfermline. Dunfermline 1-4 for 2, and I can tell you Morton have a penalty kick, so a chance for Morton to take the lead in their match against
equaliser.
In fact, to equalise now. I'm just looking there as Gordon gives me an absolute caning in the left hook. Sorry, Gordon. Yeah, absolutely. So a chance for them to equalise from the penalty spot. Will keep you up to date with that. Monitor 52 Ruffy is looking at it as we speak. I'll tell you, there's a fair battle going on, on Twitter over the conduct of Mark McGee, in this apparent and alleged refusal to shake hands with Ronnie Dyla at the end of the game. And I can tell you, Denny Johnson has scored that penalty, so it's an equaliser. But I'll tell you, Twitter, they're all over it at the moment.
Yeah, I think people have to realise that managers are under a lot of pressure, and some managers act differently to others. Motherwell had a chance, to go into the playoffs on their own right, and the pressure of putting that in doubt obviously is in the back of Mark's mind, and things happen during a game, and things. I mean, so what? He never shook his hand. Big deal, Let's move on.
You need to know the circumstances behind why he didn't. I mean, that's the whole important thing. You can't just make a judgment on it without knowing why.
Paul Hartley was interviewed after the Dundee derby, and there was a bit of a skirmish with the 2 dugouts, and he was asked what he thought of it, and he just said it's great. Brilliant. And it is. I mean, that's part and parcel. As I say, you go in afterwards, you go into the office, have a drink, and it's forgotten about because both teams are there to win. So
I think one of the best ones is the Old Firm one with wee Lenny and Ali, where we thought the 2 of them were going over to say well done, and then obviously there was a bit in between. We don't know what. Well, I don't know what was said.
No, Neil Lennon. I do know what was said. I'm not going to tell you. But Neil Lennon went over to shake his hand, and Ali McCoy said something to him. and then the reaction came from that. That's what happened.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Don't forget that's coming out in Ali's book, and when it does come out, I think people will be running for tin helmets and hiding under beds. It'll be a million seller. To be perfectly honest with you, it's one of those books, Ruffy, you'd actually just rush out or at least pre-order it to make sure you got yourself a copy.
Yeah, in the early days it was incredible. Every time Ali was thrown out there, it wasn't to talk about football, it was to be talking about what was happening behind the scenes, and you have to say that he handled it impeccably. I mean, a lot of it there was a lot of humour involved, where a lot of people would have found it difficult to deal with the situation that was happening, because let's not kid ourselves on, he was there, you know, he knew what was happening behind the scenes.
Yes.
And he had to get on with dealing with the football as well.
Yeah, how can we put it? There was a lot of non-truths mentioned in 1,000,001 press conferences, or a lack of clarity on 1,000,001 questions asked. Such was the pressure he was under there. I mean, I think in those years where now people are talking about he should be allowed to go and celebrate the title win with Rangers, and again, a lot of Rangers fans are looking at him as a legend, which he rightly is, a Rangers legend. But I think some people are looking now and saying, well, wait a minute, under the circumstances, I mean, I was privy to 1,000,001 press conferences where I don't think anybody asked him about the football. Nobody asked him about the football for weeks on end. He was just diffusing bombs.
Yeah, he had to put up a lot, there's no doubt about that. And his reputation's based on what he did as a player for Rangers, and without question, not as a manager as such. He had times, he had hard to deal with what he had to deal with, but in the end, there was a lot of other factors in terms of sometimes the performances and results angered some of the fans as well. They didn't achieve what he was going to achieve. He did it in 3 years, but not last year was poor. But the thing about it is he'll never lose that, I think, that recognition in terms of what he did for Rangers as a player.
We're talking about the two players, Alan McCoist and Neil Lennon. Lenny had to go through the same with Bolton. And I think it's off the pitch. And when we got sacked at Dundee United, Coisty phoned and he spoke about it, and I was speaking to him about it, and he just said it was at the end of the day, it was a relief, because there was too much going on outside of football. Yeah. And he just couldn't, and loved being at Rangers, and he will always be a legend. But just that there was too much going on, and obviously at Rangers it's on a bigger scale.
Yeah, I tell you, he looks a more relaxed individual now. I can tell you, Victor Wanyama has scored for Southampton to make it 3-0 against Newcastle, so I think that game is done and dusted. Yeah, he looks a far more relaxed person now. The stress, the strains, everything has taken its toll on him, and you know, I think Ali would want to get back into management at some point.
Yeah, but he's the only one that can answer that. But we're all saying he should, you know, because it's a tough one when you've been in football all your life, you know, to all of a sudden be out of it, and to be out of it forever, you know, is even worse. So you would like to think he would still have the ambition to go out there and prove anybody who thought he couldn't make it as a manager. And I'm sure there'll be clubs out there, once he's given the indication that he does want to get back in, would take him.
Yeah, Queen of the South 1, Wraith Rovers 1. Hilson with the equalising goal in that match in the Championship. Earlier on today it was Motherwell 1, Celtic 2. It's an 8-point lead for Celtic in the Premiership now, and I think the general view, certainly on this programme and right across the media, and anyone who's looking at the Premiership will suggest that Celtic are indeed going to be the champions. What about that? Dundee United 0, Inverness Caley Thistle 2, Ian Vigurs, Tannadice. I would imagine at this point, even with quite a bit to go, Darren, I think fans will have seen enough.
Yeah, I think it'll be a sorry place just now. A disaster for them, but Inverness are a good side, but I thought today, with what was at stake, I thought United would have been up for it. And
yep, there's a goal at the Falkirk Stadium. Let's go there now. Craig Turnbull.
Yes, Peter, it's an equaliser for St Mirren. Falkirk 1, St Mirren 1. It's a trademark Stevie Mallon free kick, his 12th goal of the season. Free kick just around 20 yards out, right foot, and just nestled it into the side netting, giving Danny Rogers no chance. And it's no less than what St Mirren deserved in this second half. They came out of traps really quickly and have given Falkirk a nosebleed in this quest for second place. It's Falkirk 1, St Mirren 1.
Well, I'll tell you, as it stands at the moment, in the broad scheme of things, Hibs need to get their act together then, Ruffy.
Yeah, I would like to think so. I mean, it's okay saying you've got games in hand, but when you can't go to Alloa and pick up points, you know, the pressure is really mounting on them. And I'm sure, as we've spoke about it all the way through the season, it's how important it is to finish second. And I'm sure Alan Stubbs will be hoping these players can start to realise how important it is.
Yeah, I was talking earlier on though, I mean, that's a help to Hibs, what's just happened at Falkirk Stadium. Because Falkirk, as I said, they've thrown away 5 points. I mean, they lost at home to Livingston, you know, and then they drew. So the 5 points gone in the last 2 games when they could have been quite well clear of Hibs, really. And even with the games in hand, Hibs wouldn't have caught them. But today it was going well with them, with Hibs losing and them leading. But St Mirren back in the game. I felt St Mirren would be a difficult opponent for them today because, as I say, you know, Falkirk have just gone off it a little bit. St Mirren are doing okay. But looking at the Premiership side of things, Peter, I'm just saying if Hamilton, going to win their game and Inverness do beat Dundee United, it becomes 12 points between Hamilton and Dundee United. Really, you know what I mean? Hamilton are 12 points. So you really rule Hamilton out totally of getting caught by Dundee United. I don't think there'd be any chance. 12 points with 5 games to go. Yep. You can't see that happening, can you?
Absolutely. And Killie at the moment they'll know exactly what's happening there. They will view this as a real chance now to look at. Well, I mean, Killie and Hamilton at least will be able to battle it out to try and avoid the playoff place. Yeah. But Dundee United look as if they'll be contemplating the championship next season. I'm just looking, what a big couple of weeks it is for Hibernian, Ruffy, because they play Falkirk in midweek, and then they've got a Dundee United side who will have to try somehow and lift themselves in the next week or two for the semi-final.
Yeah, but as the guys will tell you, when you go into big games, you want to go in winning. You want to go on the back of a good performance. The players are in top form. You know, the confidence is there. It doesn't matter who you play. But as it is just now, you know, if the results stay as they are, you know, you're getting into 2 massive games with doubt hanging over you, and the supporters will start doubting as well. And it's just an added pressure that you don't really want to be dealing with.
Yeah, it could be interesting if Hibs were to get into the Scottish Cup final, because suddenly it's no Liam Henderson and no Anthony Stokes.
Yeah.
If it goes that way, yes. Well, it was the same. It was the same with the. Going to be the same with the final of the League Cup, and they were obviously delighted they could play in it. Mixed emotions. Are they delighted that Celtic don't get to the final, and delighted that they can play in it? So they'd probably had mixed emotions, but they'll just need to sort that one out when it happens.
It's quite mixed when you think about it, because you look at the 2 semi-finals, you say, well, one of the teams in the semi-final, Rangers, the season's over in the league side. Celtic comfortable at the top of the league, look like they can win it there. But see the other 2, Hibs and Dundee United, you think about it, they've both got cup finals to play other than this game.
Oh, yes,
you know what I mean? They've got massive games coming up.
And Gordon, they're bigger than the semi-final.
Yes. That's what I mean.
The games are bigger than the semi-final.
Yeah, definitely. So it might be a worry.
I have to tell you, having watched the Stevie Mallon goal again, Ruffy, with that wall, he's just curled it into the bottom corner. It's a beautiful free kick from the St Mirren player there, just to get the equaliser for Alec Ray's team. Beautiful low one round the wall.
Well, it's fantastic when you've got somebody in your squad with that ability. You know, if you can get a free kick around about 18, 20 yards, that they have the confidence to get round the wall or up and over the wall. You know, I saw Lee Griffiths having a shot today late on for a free kick. It must have been about 25, 30 yards, and there was no doubt in his mind he was hitting it. You know, whether everybody else was expecting the ball coming out of the box. And when you've got somebody with that confidence, they can clip these balls. You know, these balls, if you have the ability to really strike these balls properly, they're all over the place. And if you've got that ability, it's something a lot of players wish they had.
Yeah, Michael Moffat's got his second of the afternoon in that game against Raith. Dunfermline 2, Raith 2, and Queen of the South. Dunfermline 2, Forfar 2, and I tell you, Raith Rovers have gone 2-1 in front at Queen of the South, and there's an early change for Falkirk. John Baird has come off, which is an absolute disgrace. What's Baird thinking of? Surely you should be taking extra energy drinks. This is a disaster, Ruffy. This is terrible. I've never seen you cheer and laugh so much in all my life. It's looking grim for me.
It is. No, but there's still games left. You have to keep believing. And, you know... problem of the playoff games. But no, that's what he needs. Six goals in
Well, it might
3
help,
games.
It'll help Peter if actually forfeit. If Falkirk finish third,
yes.
because then they'll have an extra
game.
2 games.
True, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to have to. I think we're really going to have to include charity matches and celebrity turnouts as well, and 5-a-sides if he's going to get any chance. 6 goals. I thought he was a shoe, and he looked confident. He was confident midweek, Darren, but I don't think he'll. Listen, it'll not matter. I think, Ruffy, you will deserve a meal out this season because the last couple of seasons you've been absolutely battered in the betting stakes.
Yeah, that's another thing I'd like to bring up. You know, I've been simmering on it for a wee while. I don't know if the viewers have noticed, but I certainly noticed that the predictions have stopped.
Yes.
Yeah, just to enlighten you in this, I was about 120 points clear in the predictions throughout the season, and all of a sudden we don't seem to be doing it anymore.
Well, all I would say to you, and I can say hand in heart, Gordon, without a lie, the producer actually probably decided there's no way Peter's coming back from about 84 points, so I'm not going to bother doing it anymore. You were so far ahead, Ruffy, it defied belief. I would have needed about 9 snookers to get back into it. But as far as the bet's concerned, I was just actually thinking to myself, in the end, Ruffy, we probably won't be going for a meal this season because obviously
so
the bet
many
was.
People owe us meals.
No, well, Mac is going to take us out because he got it wrong with
It's not
Aberdeen
meant
and
to be this
Celtic.
way. He was taking us out last Wednesday or something like that. It never happened.
It never happened. And the other thing about it, Ruffy, is our bet was a double whammy because you had obviously bet Waghorn to get 40 goals, was it?
40 goals. He was sitting on 30, I think, and he'd still a right load of games to play. So I took 40 goals, but unfortunately got injured. But rumours are he's coming back.
Yeah, not for the semi-final, but he's going to be back before the end of the season.
So how many games will he have then, do you think?
About 4.
Yeah. No, I can't. 9 goals in 4 games.
No.
Achievable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think your name has to be Laudrup or Larson, to be perfectly honest with you, or even Messi or Ronaldo, who've been an absolute joy. Dan, we always mention, I'll tell you, there's something just happened. It's a goal for Kilmarnock. Callum Higginbotham with a close range header. It was a brilliant cross, and Higginbotham just in with the header. Past Manis in the goal, 2-0 now, and that is a massive result, Darren, for Kelly.
Huge
goal for Dundee. And I tell you, Harkins, what did I tell you? Gary Harkins just whips the ball into the box and it's in the back of the net. I think it looks as if Kane Hemmings is claiming it. You know, strikers, they all run away with their hands in the air thinking it's mine. Probably come off a defender. But nevertheless, Harkins makes that immediate impact to get them back into it.
Yeah, we said that he can create incredible chances for the strikers. I think that's why Kane Hemmings has scored 24 goals now this season, and a lot of the assists will be from Gary Harkins and obviously Stewart as well. But yeah, he's a talented boy.
I was just thinking there when Kilmarnock scored, it's looking good for Kilmarnock and Hamilton as opposed to Dundee United. But all of a sudden, that Dundee getting a goal there could put Hamilton under a little bit of pressure.
Hamilton have collapsed before. And big games, you know, when they've been winning quite comfortably.
Well, that's what Dundee back in. I mean, they've got 25 minutes to go.
Well, I'm just looking here. I tell you, I'm not happy with the cameraman today. I think it was Hemmings who actually passed it to Harkins. This reminds me of a game I was working on earlier, a good few years ago, and somebody said, there's 2 people in the tackle. It looks as if Goff's going to be booked. No, it's Mark Walters. I mean, honestly, how can you mistake Hemmings and Gary Harkins? But Harkins looks as if he's claiming it, and suddenly, if anything, if I was Gary Harkins, I'd be running over to Paul Hartley and going right up to his face and trying to pick a fight, Darren, because he's left me out of the side.
No, but they've played during the week and they've had a good result. So there's a lot of games, and he knows what he can do. Coming on late in the game, sometimes Gary Harkins can have a huge impact. I know he's come on at half time, but see when the game's dying, and he can pick passes out then for the strikers. But as we said, you'll be delighted with the goal today. And Higginbotham, it's a huge result. I know Kilmarnock have been playing well and not getting results. And I just thought today that last week's result for St Johnstone, Tommy Wright would be very angry.
Lee Clark's been saying that they haven't got results since he came. They haven't won a game since he came in, but he's been very positive about it. And the people who have seen them playing, what a couple of games were showing, they did look better. He's got them going a bit. He's made some changes, but that's a big That's a big result. If Kilmarnock win that game today, that's
Lee
huge.
Clark was a young kid at Newcastle when I was there.
You were there, was it?
and
Yeah.
he was a confident boy then.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Good boy, great. Yeah.
Here's a look at the latest scores in the Scottish Premiership. First of all, Motherwell 1, Celtic 2. You'll be reading a lot in the back pages of the altercation between Mark McGee and Ronnie Dyler. Dundee United 0, Inverness Cali Thistle 2, Hamilton 2, Dundee 1, Kilmarnock 2, St Johnstone 0, Ross County 1, Partick Thistle 0. And I can tell you, St Johnstone have had the ball in the back of the net, but Crawford Allen has just quickly blown his whistle, and the goal has been chalked off. So that was an offside decision that's gone against them there. And let's go into the Championship. Alloa 1, Hibernian 0, Falkirk 1, St Mirren 1, Morton 1, Livingston 1, and Queen of the South 1, Wraith Rovers 2. In the League 1, Airdrie 0, Stenhousemuir 1, Ayr United 0, Albion Rovers 0, Cowdenbeath 1, Brecon City 0, and Dunfermline 2, Forfar 2. Scottish League 2, Annan Athletic 3, Arbroath 1, Berwick Rangers 1, Clyde 0, East Fife 3, Montrose 0, East Stirlingshire 0, Queen's Park 3, and Stirling Albion 0, Elgin City 0. In the Barclays Premier League, full-time score from the 12:45 kick-off: West Ham 3, Arsenal 3, Aston Villa 0, Bournemouth 1, Crystal Palace 0, Norwich 0, Southampton 3, Newcastle 1, Swansea 1, Chelsea 0, and Watford 1, Everton 1. And Gus Hiddink, I'd love to be Gus Hiddink as a manager, Ruffy, because he just comes in, repairs the damage, and leaves Chelsea with a large cheque. And Antonio Conte will be the new manager in the summer.
Yeah, and he's one of these managers that even at country level, if anybody's needing somebody to take them to a finals, they just give him a phone and he comes in, and he's got all the experience in the world. He says nothing seems to get on top of him. He just treats every game as it comes, and very good manager.
What about Jason Punchindarn? He scored for Crystal Palace against Norwich City. We don't like to see that because we're incredibly biased when we have a Scottish manager down there.
Of course we are, and that will give Sunderland a huge lift for tomorrow. But it's not over yet. But yeah, it would be great if Norwich could survive for Alec.
Yeah.
They haven't won in the last 9 league games, Palace either. So
and see before that, Gordon, we were talking earlier about Crystal Palace. They were talking about Alan Pardew for the Chelsea job.
Yeah.
For the job
right.
he was doing. It was an incredible job he was doing.
That's
and
right.
then they go on a run, and now they're fighting down the bottom for relegation. So this would be a massive result for him.
There's been Falkirk scored.
And I can tell you, let's go to the Falkirk Stadium and see if there's Falkirk taking lead or St Mirren. Craig Turnbull.
It's the Bairns who have taken the lead. Peter, Falkirk 2, St Mirren 1. And it's Bob McHugh, the substitute, who's headed the Bairns back in front. It was a great delivery into the box, and McHugh powered a header past Langfield in goal just seconds after Volks had hit the bar for Falkirk. So the Bairns back in front here. Falkirk 2, St Mirren 1.
Yep, that's a big goal for Falkirk because they know exactly what's happening at Alloa, Ruffy.
Yeah, the thing about it as well, John Baird, when he was in the show, was talking up the boy McHugh. He was saying he's definitely a young boy for the future. Even impressed with him at training and that, and then he's come up with that goal. So yeah, that's another fantastic goal for Falkirk, and Hibs, as you said, they really need to do something.
Peter was talking a few weeks ago about the impact his subs have had made coming on in games. And that's, as I was talking about Gary Harkins coming on, I know you don't want to be on the bench, but sometimes you look at it and you think, well, this player can have a huge impact when he come on. And I think it was the 3 substitutions a couple of weeks ago had a massive impact in the Falkirk game.
Was that when they're playing Rangers? Was that the game against Rangers when they were down 2-0?
Yes.
Yep.
And seemingly the first 25 minutes Rangers were unbelievable. And then it just turned, and as I say, Peter said that the substitution made a huge impact in the game.
Okay, I'll tell you what's going to be interesting over the course of the next couple of months, Ruffy. Managers, being sacked. Other new managers coming in. We've already talked about Antonio Conte coming in. It's not a sacking for Gus Hiddink. He was just in for that short period after the disaster that was Jose Mourinho in Chelsea. Although Jose Mourinho seems fairly confident he'll be in a job in the summer, there's speculation that Manchester United looks odds on, but suddenly you hear stories coming from Dutch newspapers that Louis van Gaal will be given a substantial amount of money to stay for that final season at Manchester United. I'd be gobsmacked if that happened.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be as well. I thought I think we were all waiting and seeing how his results went, because there was a time there where every press conference he went to was, it was getting a bit of a joke, and you could tell by his face that he was beginning to get fed up with it as well, and I thought with the Dutch job, the national job is coming available, that might be an easy option for him. Look, I've come here, I've done my bit, blah, blah, blah.
I think he's stubborn.
Yeah, and now he started to win games. Not fantastically well, but he started to win games. He's climbed up, looks as if he could get into the Champions League. And then he might want to say, all right, I've proved you all wrong. He's all had me written off, but now look where we are. I'm going to stick it out another year. Give me some more money.
It's hard for us to sit here and criticise what Louis van Gaal's done in the game and say he's not a top manager. Does he have Man United playing the way you like Man United playing? Possibly not. No. But when you look, we're talking about he's going to get a substantial amount of money to spend. I think he's already spent 250 million. So how much they're going to get to spend and make it into a team where you just expect a Man United
team to be. A lot more than
David
Moyes got it for sure.
Yes, but I think for what David did at Everton, he deserved a chance. But probably Van Gaal's reputation gives him that little bit longer.
He's got a bigger reputation, that's right.
Yep, Goodwin and Morgan have come on for St Mirren. Carswell and Gallagher going off, so Alec Ray just making changes there. Jim Goodwin's been sitting on the bench for quite a few weeks now, but obviously he's going to try and add a bit of steel into the middle of the park to see if he can create something. Aston Villa 0, Bournemouth 2, Joshua King beg your pardon, with the goal there for Bournemouth, so I think that fairly settles that match. And Aston Villa, I think they know it's the championship for them. Callum Higginbotham's getting a standing ovation from the Killie fans, Ruffy, and rightly so.
Yeah, he hasn't been playing particularly well. He hasn't. Any time we saw him when he was out there, he was winning games single-handedly. He's got an unbelievable amount of ability. But he hasn't been doing it this year, but certainly he's done it at the right time. If this is the one that he's decided to produce the goods, and it's the biggest win of the season for him and the club.
Yep. So it could be at the bottom end of the table. Quite an unbelievable day of twists and turns. Dundee United now, I think Mixu Patalainen in his last game says he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. All the good performances without that end result, Gordon Smith is where the problem lies.
Yeah, that's it. As Dan said, they dominated the game early on midweek against Partick. Lost the game, so that was went against them, losing that 3 points, which was a game in hand to catch up the two teams above them. Then a home game today against Inverness, who have not been in the best of form, and they're losing that game 2-0 with 20 minutes to go. And with our two rivals down at that end of the division, both leading at the moment, then it could be a bad week in total for Dundee United, never mind a bad day. And then, as I say, their next game they've got to concentrate on is a cup tie, that the league thing has to get put aside for a little while. So you're looking at it thinking, whether Mixu, has really turned that around, whether he's got the players going or not. This is a crucial week in terms of how things have gone.
Yep, okay. So, a quick look at the top and bottom. I'm looking now and I'm thinking to myself, Ruffy, it's looking more and more like Dundee United with a mountain to climb. Now it's all about everybody will be looking to Kilmarnock and Hamilton.
Yeah, I would throw Inverness into that equation as well. I think Inverness are now on free fall. The other two that were on free fall look as if they're going to pick up wins. Inverness can't. So, yeah.
Inverness are winning today, though.
I'm at another place.
Yeah. No, Inverness are winning 2-0 against Dundee United.
Sorry, no.
Against Dundee
Sorry, well, let me correct myself. Let me correct myself. Yeah, you're right. I'm not just changing just because, but I think they're still in it. They're not definitely in it, but they've got the 3 points. But the three of them will be looking at each other with 15 points at stake, to try and beat each other out of that equation.
If Inverness win today, Ruffy, they go 15 points ahead of Dundee United.
No, Dundee United are gone.
Aye, but
Dundee
that's-
United are
Hold on a second, hold on, write that down,
Dundee
Dan.
United are
Hold on,
gone.
that's it now.
What was the
Check that
final
time out,
time?
mate.
16:35, Ruffy finally concedes. Dundee United are now gone. Something that I mentioned to him 2 months ago, and he's now conceded. It's taken that long.
Yeah, but I'm glad you all decided to agree with me at one point.
We never
The
agreed
point-
we did agree that they were still in it.
Yeah.
But we never ever said they were going to stay up. You've maintained that, but we've said no, we didn't think so.
Yeah, I think the point I was trying to say was Inverness and Hamilton and Kilmarnock will all believe that they're the ones going for the playoff place.
Yeah.
They've all got wins today.
Yeah.
But I still think they'll all believe they can catch each other. I think that was the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, the three of them are in the fight. This would be a good result for Inverness, because if Hamilton and Kilmarnock both won today and Inverness had lost, then Inverness were definitely closer to the fight for the playoff place. But this would be a good 3 points for them. It puts them on to 39, and if Hamilton win, they're on 36, and Kilmarnock win, they go on to 32. So there's still a points gap between Inverness and 7 points in Kilmarnock with it going into the playoff. But you're right in terms of saying that they're not out of it yet at Inverness, but this is a big win for them today if they win this.
Yeah, absolutely. Darren, who do you think would win when you're looking at potentially the teams from the Premiership on a downer going that way in against a team potentially from the Championship filled with confidence, obviously getting past a playoff game against the winner of third and fourth? I mean, is there a team you think of just? I mean, I'm looking at Hibs at the moment. I couldn't second guess Hibs.
You would have fancied Hibs, because I think that Hibs are a Premiership side playing in the Championship with the players that they've got, and the times they've come up against the Premiership teams this year, they did very well. I mean, really well. I mean, it's, I think,
5 wins.
Yes,
5 wins against Premiership teams.
So you would have fancied, but at this moment in time, obviously, they're not doing too well. So, but there's still 5-6 games to go, Peter. It can still go either way. Hibs could go on a good run, and the team at the bottom could go on. I still don't. Maybe my heart's ruling my head here. I still don't think it's over with United. 8 points. Obviously, it's 8 points top and bottom now off the leagues. But I still don't think that Kilmarnock, yes, have won Hamilton. It's very hard to catch Hamilton. I think best of all, they're looking at the playoff, but I still don't think it's over.
Okay, I'm writing this down, Ruffy. If you could,
sitting too near me.
Well, I was just about to say,
he's been sitting too near me.
if you could give him the DVD that I gave you last week of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and let him watch it now, because I never thought he was going to take the baton off you and start running with it with Dundee United. I, for one, look at Dundee United leaving the division. I think that's a huge loss. You can't have everybody in it that you want. I'd like to see I love the Dundee derby as well. You like to see the Edinburgh derby in there, and of course Glasgow derbies.
Yeah.
We all know the attraction of it, and of course let's not forget Motherwell and Hamilton. So we can't have it all our own way. But I think Dundee United will be a huge loss.
Yeah, I touched on it briefly, Dan, about the Dundee United supporters, and we saw the likes of Hibs, Rangers, as a given, that the support hang on in there. If Dundee United were to go down into that division, would the supporters hang on in there? Would it need to be a successful Dundee United?
Well, see, you say that, Ruffy. Hibs, I think, one of their best average of crowds was when
Big Alec went down
Big
there.
Alec was there.
Yep.
So see if you've got a winning team. Okay, it's in the Championship. They'll be on a downer right away. But if they do go down, which I'm still not convinced, but if they do go down, if they've got a winning team, the supporters will come out, like, as I said, the time with Hibs.
Yeah.
Okay, and amazingly, for the first 5 or so minutes, we haven't had a goal anywhere.
No.
I mean, it's all gone quiet, especially when you consider at the bottom end that you think some teams would be throwing caution to the wind. Certainly, it's not over with Hamilton and Dundee. Still, just a slender lead. Harkins getting a goal back for Dundee. At Celtic, at Fir Park, Celtic won by 2-1. Lee Griffiths could have had a hat-trick, missed a penalty, didn't even make the keeper make a save, Ruffy, put it past the post.
Yeah, and you could see in his face, couldn't believe it, that to hit a dead ball like that and to miss the target is not like him. And it just goes to show you that, as we spoke earlier, when you've got a bit of movement, well, you guys are no better than me. If you've got a bit of movement to hit the ball, it looks as if it's easier than to running up and hitting a dead ball.
Yeah.
When you've got to make your mind up,
Yeah.
you know, and the decisions that are going through your head, and you obviously make up your decision, but you've got somebody in front of you that you've got to make a decision.
And I can tell you, there's a goal at the Falkirk Stadium. Craig Turnbull.
Yes, and it's for St Mirren, Peter. Falkirk 2, St Mirren 2. It was great play by Lewis Morgan down the right hand side. The substitute getting to the byline, cut the ball back for Stevie Mallon from about 18 yards out, and he just calmly slotted the ball past Rogers. They're back in it. It's Falkirk 2, St Mirren 2.
Alec Ray, he has instilled a battling quality. Brought Jim Goodwin on as well. You know exactly what you're getting with Jim. He's another one of those players. I'd love to have him in my team every week.
Of course, yeah, we've had a few, even when I was at Dun United, with a few run-ins with Jim, with his elbows and tackles, but you get what you see. And fully committed, again, a player who is just worried about his own team, trying to get wins just now, trying to get in the team. But a fully committed player and a good player to have about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about Jim Goodwin. I'd take Alec Ray in my team, even at 6-a-side every week, Gordon. That's I think they're a mirror image of each other.
Absolutely. I think he was an underrated professional. There's no doubt about that. But we've had other goals as well. Dunfermline have gone 3-2 up against Forfar when they're not required. But Elgin City is a bit of a surprise. They're challenging up the top of the league and they're losing 1-0 to Stirling Albion. And
I think that get taken off.
Sorry?
I think that get taken off.
Yeah, it looks as if it's been chalked off. So it's still 0-0 there. It looked as if they were going ahead, and it's just been taken off. Yeah, that's the great thing about it. Once the old journalist starts writing it down, and then suddenly it's taken off.
Go back as well.
So they have. Yeah, well, there you are. There's my case. That's right.
But Morton's goal's not been taken off, and Morton are now in front against Livingston.
Right, okay, we're happy with that, Morton. Right. It looks as if Dundee United have scored 5 goals and all 5 of them have been taken off. Yeah, and I can tell you Aston Villa have got one back against Bournemouth, we think. We'll stick with that at the moment. Cowden B2, Brecon 1.
Peter, I was just going to say, when we were talking, Ruffy was asking me there about Dundee United going down. Obviously, Aston Villa have just scored. Aston Villa and Newcastle going down is 2 massive clubs leaving the Premiership. It's just a disaster.
Imagine Sunderland.
Well. And it's just that, obviously, I was lucky enough to play with Newcastle and the support they've got there and all that. But 2 massive clubs getting relegated.
Definitely.
And it's because I think the 2 clubs are a shambles. You just what they've spent and what they're producing is just...
you're right, Dan, in a lot of ways, and it's a terrible thing to say, but if you to look at it, the league in England and say, well, who would go down, who should go down in all the size of clubs and all that, it would probably be Watford, Norwich and Bournemouth, wouldn't it?
Without a doubt.
Those 3, as opposed to Aston Villa, Newcastle, Sunderland.
Leicester.
Yeah.
You would have put Leicester in there at the start of the season.
That is true.
I think at the exact same point last year, Leicester were 3 points from safety. And it just shows you how the whole season has been transformed. Claudio Ranieri could be leading them to...
So it can happen at the end of the season, yeah. That teams right down the bottom can go on a good run and survive.
Leicester did last year.
Yeah.
The fact they were, I think December they were bottom, weren't they?
But he's not saying that for any kind of clarity. He's trying to say Dundee United can do it. But you're leading me into a cul-de-sac I'm not going to go to.
As long as arithmetically possible, yes.
Yeah, I think the only point I would make, and I didn't have any gripe or prejudice towards Dundee United, Ruffy. I was looking at watching them play, looking at what was going on, and thinking to myself, well, when there are other things going on behind the scenes as well as trying to change the mindset of the club. I mean, when you guys were there, you were developing young players. Suddenly Mixu Patalainen comes in, changes the style of the team and brings in experienced players. I didn't see anything that suggested to me they could go on a run of 3, 4, 5 wins that would take them away from there. I didn't see that. So that's why I thought they were gone. There would have been a bit of fight. There has been a bit of fight, but they're back on the ropes.
They're back on the ropes, but there had been particular games that they shouldn't have been. If they'd taken their chances. Partick Thistle was a perfect example. There was another couple of games before that. Even when Darren and Jackie were there, and I keep thinking back to that day at St Johnstone. That game could have been won quite easily. That game could have been won in the first half.
Brilliant.
But the things just weren't going. you know, and it's just crazy how things happen.
I'll tell you, Rory McKenzie, a tackle on him there has resulted in a penalty for Kilmarnock. What a chance this is for the Rugby Park side, and Chris Boyd was looking as if he was going to take it. Josh McGuinness is saying to him, I want to take it because I've got the European Championships at the week in the summer and you haven't. But Boyd's going to take it. He's just putting the ball down from 12 yards, desperate to get on the score sheet to seal all 3 points in this game. That would be a magnificent scoreline for Killie. Boyd just steadying himself. He started his run up and the shot goes in, and it's into the bottom corner of the net. 3-0. Boyd celebrates, and Ruffy, that's all 3 points to Killie.
Yeah, it is, and we've spoken about it on numerous occasions here. Lee Clark's been battling away there, trying to get that win, and he's got it, and he's got the win, and I'm sure they'll be working very hard behind the scenes, you know, to get that win, and that takes a massive pressure off them as far as the relegation bit's concerned, and now they have to build on that.
Peter, it just shows you how mad football is. St Johnstone go to Tynecastle and win 3-0 against a really good Hearts side, and then they've lost last week to Dundee United, and then they've gone down.
And they already won up at Pittodries, Peter's mentioned earlier on, 5-1 this season.
But it's been so close going to Tynecastle and winning 3-0.
I know.
Well, I'll tell you, here's another name that we were talking about, players that will attract attention from teams in a higher league. Smart Osadola is a player that Jim Chapman mentions to me on more than a few occasions because of the erratic nature of him. 1 minute he looks as if he can be a world beater, the next minute he just doesn't look as if he's interested, but he scored today in 2 minutes from time, and in 4 are both won.
Yeah, that's what you get when you're down the divisions, Peter. You see some things in players and you think, God almighty, what a player he is, and then the next minute they do something poor and you think, well, maybe that was just a little flash, but they have got ability.
Yeah.
It's just on a consistent level.
Yep, and he's also one of those guys who's got a six-pack in the lower leagues. Not that I'm suggesting for a minute that people don't work on their weight down there, but I think, I can remember one of the photos from earlier in the season, Ruffy, and they all get their tops off, and he was one of those guys that was quite happy, to take the top off and throw it about.
Maybe I have to say, modern day player, most of them look after themselves. Even down the divisions, I think they all know what's at stake. They know what they've got to eat, what they've got to drink, and if they want to succeed.
Here's a wee shock: Berwick 3, Clyde 0.
Just going to say that, Peter. It's not, Clyde's sitting second top of the league, and they're losing 3-0. And I think that Queen's Park, the way the score lines are at the moment, Queen's Park go back into the playoff position.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just looking at you, you're absolutely right, and I think it'll be a good day for Gus McPherson. If that happens, Dunfermline have got a penalty, they can get a chance to actually go 3-2 ahead. I know there was a possibility of a goal early, it was chalked off, and Livingston have equalised against Morton. Again, I've got to credit David Hopkin for the job he's done since he came in there at Livingston. Yeah,
I was up a few times seeing Buckchain Hoppy when they were he's taken it on, and he's brought in a couple. He brought in Charlie Telfer, who's we took to Dundee United, and Charlie's a great player. He's gone down and he's learning down the divisions, first team football, and he'll go back to Dundee United and play. There's no doubt about that. Yeah,
and let's go to the Falkirk Stadium. Craig Turnbull.
Yeah, and it's a goal for the Bairns, Peter. Falkirk 3, St Mirren 2, and it's Blair Alston with the goal from 6 yards. The ball was played across into the midfielder's path, and he just slots it past Langfield. What a goal for Falkirk. Falkirk 3, St Mirren 2.
What a game, Ruffy. 5 goals.
Yeah, they're the team in form. They're getting the wee breaks here and there. They're getting the wins. They're getting the confidence that we keep talking about that you want to go into these games with. And pressure's definitely all on Hibs now. It looks as if Hibs are going to be that team that's going to finish in third place.
Well, you're right. That takes the Falkirk gap, the gap back to 6 points if Hibs lose this game today and Falkirk win. And Hibs have got 2 games in hand, to be fair, but that's a real battle on now for that second top spot.
Yeah, 2 games in hand, but it's Hibs Falkirk on Tuesday, which I think is going to be a massive game. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Well, the way the results are going just now, it's going to be even bigger now for Hibs to get back into it, and we have to wait and see how the results go, and then they've got the semi-final, and it's how the players react to that. But first of all, they've got Falkirk, and that's massive.
Yep, so as you can see, well, some of the divisions might already be decided. Of course, Dunfermline champions, Rangers champions of the Championship, going back to the Premiership next season. It looks as if, and I don't think I'm suggesting something outrageous, looks as if Celtic are going to go on to win the Premiership after what's happened over the last 24 hours, Ruffy.
Yeah, I would think so. We all speak about 15 points, but 8 points. And you can't see Celtic losing that many points, even in today's game where they just sneaked it 2-1. They had 25 shots at goal, and in any circumstances, some of them's going to hit the back of the net, and as long as they keep creating these chances, they will win the league.
Yep, okay, coming up in the next hour of the programme, we'll hear from Mark Warburton and we'll hear from Jim McInally ahead of the Petrofac Training Cup final. Let's go to Rugby Park for a full-time assessment of the game from Derek Clark.
At Rugby Park it's finished. Kilmarnock 3, St Johnstone 0. Chris Boyd double helps Lee Clark to earn his first win as Killy boss, and what an important 3 points it is too. Chris Boyd opened the scoring in 25 minutes with a free kick from around 20 yards out that he side-footed into the bottom corner. That was his first goal since the 5th of December. The ex-Rangers man also struck the post in the first half. The home side dominated and they started the second half in a similar vein. Callum Higginbotham doubled their advantage with a downward header from close range on 65 minutes. The Saints then had the ball in the net 3 minutes later, but Liam Craig's header was adjudged to be illegal, and then Jamie McDonald produced a worldly stop from Chris Miller that earned him a standing ovation from the home support before Boyd put the icing on the cake from the penalty spot 2 minutes from time after Rory McKenzie was upended in the box. And Johnson never turned up here this afternoon, but full credit must go to Lee Clark's side, who are absolutely fantastic this afternoon, and it must bode well for the end of season run. And it's finished here. Kilmarnock 3, St Johnstone 0.
Big win there, and of course great performances in the front line and the back line as well, with Jamie McDonald making some stunning saves for Killie. A great day all round for them. We will be getting the full time from Falkirk St Mirren and also Hamilton Accies against Dundee, but Alloa have defeated Hibs by a 0-0. That's a shock, Ruffy.
It is a shock. It's just the same when Rangers went there, they struggled as well. Darren's already spoke to us about the park being narrowed, the state of the park, but I don't think when you've got everything to go for, that shouldn't come into it. It's just they've went off the boil. Certain players, big players we've talked about. We've talked about McGinn, Henderson, Cummins, Stokes. You would think with the kind of quality players, they should be able to beat Alloa.
Yeah, if you're a Hibs fan out there, give us your thoughts on the afternoon at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Darren Jackson are with me. I can tell you it's finished Falkirk 3, St Mirren 2. We'll be going to the Falkirk Stadium as well as New Douglas Park, and we'll hear from Mark Warburton, the Rangers manager, and also Jim McInally of Peterhead ahead of that Petrofac Training Cup. We'll also reflect on Celtic's win today at Fir Park as well. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. What a day of drama as ever across all the divisions. Full time at Hamilton Accies against Dundee. Des McKeown is there.
Finished Hamilton 2, Dundee 1. The Accies' first home win since the 19th of September last year has given the Premiership survival bid a massive boost. It was two first half strikes that secured the victory during a 45 minutes that they truly dominated. They took the lead on the half hour mark. It was a Darren McKinnon deep cross from the left hand side. Ziggy Gordon coming in at the back post, headed the ball back down, back across goals, back away from the goals, and it was Ali Crawford who was on hand on the penalty spot to hammer a right foot volley into the bottom corner. 10 minutes later they doubled that lead. Eamon Brophy down the left hand channel, they'd driven into the box, he was coming along the byline, and it was Exubegarin who actually brought him down. Jesus Garcia Tena grabbed the ball, put it in the spot and drilled the ball left footed beyond being in the Dundee goal. It was actually the Dundee goalkeeper who'd kept his side in it. He'd made terrific saves from Morris, from Brophy, and right on half time an Ali Crawford header looked as if they were going to make it 3-0. He clawed that away from just going in under the top corner. Paul Hartley knew he had to make changes and to get back into the game, and he brought on Gary Harkins for Craig Whiting, and it was Harkins who actually got Dundee some form of interest in the second half. Kane Hemmings down the left hand side fed it into the centre of the goals. It looked as if Harkins was offside. It wasn't, the flag didn't go up, and he side footed it past McGovern in the Hamilton goals. That was about all for the rest of the game, but it was Tousy affair, Dougie Imrie aggravating certain Dundee players and the Dundee manager, but overall it gives Hamilton a very, very precious 3 points. For Dundee it now means they do not finish in the top 6, but can look forward to another derby against their city rivals, but I'm sure that will be scant consolation tonight for Paul Hartley and his players. It finished at Hamilton 2, Dundee 1.
I don't think Paul Hartley will be happy at all. The last thing Dundee United wanted was the Dundee derby, I think, to try and save their season or and somehow get some points to get away from relegation. But Paul Hartley wanted top 6. I thought they would finish top 6.
Yeah, of course he would want top 6, Peter. He's already signed a couple of players, and I think for getting in the top 6 it's a lot more money, so he's maybe looking at maybe another couple of players, and that could scupper it now, which is a huge blow. But I think when you talk about you talk about Alan Archibald earlier about them sticking by Archie when things weren't going too well, and he's come on and did very well. And Martin Cannon 8-0 at Celtic Park, but the board stuck with him. They could see what he was trying to do, and it looks as though they could be safe now. So fair play to them.
Yep, absolutely. We will be going to Falkirk Stadium to get a full-time report from an unbelievable game. 5 goals for Falkirk, St Mirren, and Craig Turnbull. We'll hear from him. We'll also get your thoughts. We'll be reading out a lot of your tweets and your messages on Facebook as well. Petrofac Training Cup final coming up tomorrow. We'll be hearing from Mark Warburton and Jim McAnally, and they're getting their thoughts on the strength of each other's side going into this final. And of course we will undoubtedly talk about that Celtic Rangers game coming up in the Scottish Cup semi-final as well. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Lots to talk about. Of course, if you were reading anything on social media, you would have been, you'd have been looking at Motherwell against Celtic and thinking there was a real battle going on between Mark McGee and Ronnie Dyler after the game, when apparently the Motherwell manager refused to shake hands with the Celtic manager. But Mark McGee has subsequently denied any kind of feud between himself and Ronnie Dyler. So I think he's taken the sting out of whatever happened trackside. Celtic won it by 2-1. Let's go to the Championship. Falkirk against St Mirren. 5 goals in offer for Craig Turnbull.
Yeah, it was an absolutely cracking game, Peter. Falkirk 3, St Mirren 2, the final score here at the Falkirk Stadium. And Blair Alston's last-minute strike gave Falkirk a huge boost in their race for second. It was Falkirk that got off to the great start when Lee Miller headed them in front after a great ball from Miles Hippolyte on the left-hand side. But St Mirren came back into it in the second half. A terrific free kick from Stevie Mallon gave them the equaliser before Falkirk went back in front through Bob McHugh, a header from around 6 yards. But incredibly, St Mirren did not give up and got back into it when Stevie Mallon again pulled the Saints level with a low drive from the edge of the box after good play from Lewis Morgan. But Falkirk showed great character and spirit to win it at the death, with Alston slotting home from close range to give the Bairns a valuable 3 points in the race for second. They're now 6 ahead of Hibs, who Hibs of course have 2 games in hand and they play each other on Tuesday. What a game that will be here. Falkirk 3, St Mirren 2. It finished here at the Falkirk Stadium.
In the end, a 5-goal thriller. Okay, thanks to Craig Turnbull. Now let's switch our attention to the full-time scores in the Premiership at Fir Park. The early kick-off today, it finished Motherwell 1, Celtic 2. Of course, 2 goals from Lee Griffiths. Could have scored a hat-trick.
Could have scored a hat-trick. It was unfortunate I missed a penalty at Motherwell for Celtic as well, so it happens. But again, it doesn't affect him. He just goes on and scores the goals.
Okay, let's give you the full-time scores now. On the screen you can see Motherwell 1, Celtic 2, Dundee United 0, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 2, Hamilton 2, Dundee 1, Kilmarnock 3, St Johnstone 0, Ross County 1, Partick Thistle 0, and of course last night's result, Hearts 2, Aberdeen 1. Let's go to the Championship now. Full times: Alloa 1, Hibs 0, Falkirk 3, St Mirren 2, Morton 2, Livingston 1, and Queen of the South 1, Wraith Rovers 2. In the League 1, it's Airdrie 1, Stennismuir 1, Ayr United 0, Albion Rovers 1, Cowdenbeath 2, Brecon City 1, and Dunfermline 2, Forfar 2. And in League 2, the full-time Annan Athletic 4, Arbroath 1, Berwick Rangers 3, Clyde 0, East Fife 3, Montrose 0, East Stirling 0, Queen's Park 3, and Stirling Albion 0, Elgin City 0. In the Barclays Premier League, it was West Ham 3-3 in the early kick-off. We'll bring you the rest of the results from the Barclays Premier League. In fact, they're there. Better late than never. Aston Villa 1, Bournemouth 2, Crystal Palace 1, Norwich 0, Southampton 3, Newcastle 1, Swansea 1, Chelsea 0, and Watford 1, Everton 1. Manchester City against West Brom is, of course, the 5:30 kick-off. Petrofac Training Cup, we'll hear from Mark Warburton and Jim McInally coming up next.
When's the Grand Nationals? At 5:15?
Yeah.
We need to do it next
It's
Peter
very
then,
helpful.
Yes.
We're going to do
Big cup final
something.
on Sunday, so it prepares the team really well in terms of coming here, playing, the atmosphere, the build-up.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Good cup preparation. Why go
Preparation, Waghorn. Preparation first, then McInally, then we'll come back to Waghorn.
Okay.
Motherwell, 4th place at the split.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Did Ross County get above St Johnstone in goal difference today? What was the goal difference scenario? They've got the same point.
Who was that? -8. -7. -8. Ross County for point behind Motherwell. That's St Johnstone. No.
Aye, St Johnstone was 5th.
Aye, 0.
Aye, and then Ross County next. Yeah. They both got 43 points now, I think. Yeah. Aye, it's goal difference. St Johnstone above them goal difference. Yeah. Ross County are 6th.
Oh, well, St Johnstone will be -3.
Why they
And Ross County will be -7.
7, aye.
So,
Aye, -3, -7. So it's St Johnstone 5th, Ross County 6th.
Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Darren Jackson with me here on a Saturday afternoon to forget for Dundee United. Mixu Patalainen side going down by 2-0 against Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Not the result the Tannadice faithful wanted to see today. They were looking for more battling qualities. In the end, I think Stephen Thompson, the chairman of Dundee United, will now be looking and thinking it's time to sit down with the books, Gordon Smith, and start to look at how they can balance them in the Championship.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think they'll be preparing now for the Championship because they'll look at it and think it's a bit of a task in order to, I mean, there's an 8-point gap to Kilmarnock for a start. That's probably the team they can catch because I don't see any chance of them getting near Hamilton. So there's only really Kilmarnock as the team that Dundee United can bring back. They've got a game against them, obviously. They've got a Dundee derby now to play, but I think it's going to be tough for them. I think that trying to pull that back. So he's got to be starting to prepare, whether it's player-wise and all that sort of thing. I don't know whether they've sold good players on. I don't know whether this current squad they've got now, there'll be a lot of money in it for them in terms of selling the current squad. But certainly, I think that they've got to start preparing for Championship football next season. It
was a big result for Hamilton Accies today, Darren Jackson. Their victory over Dundee certainly puts a gap of 4 points between themselves and Kilmarnock. But for Dundee, the flip side of that is they dropped to 7th, just at that split, just at the point where they thought they were going to be in the top 6.
Yeah, Paul will be very disappointed after the result during the week. Confidence boost against Celtic. Going into this game, Hamilton not doing too well, and we all went for, I think Ruffy went for Hamilton, to be fair, but you couldn't see Hamilton getting a result today. But fair play, we said before that you get what you Hamilton players give you what they've got.
Yeah.
They go out and they battle, and today things have gone for them, and they've battled and got 3 fantastic points. But I'm sure Paul Hartley will be raging tonight.
Yeah. And Ruffy, if we're going to call the playoff place on your assessment of both teams, do you think? I think Inverness will consider themselves to be maybe with enough in reserve to steer clear of any playoff place. Hamilton or Kilmarnock for you?
Well, you would think in the results today, both Hamilton and Kilmarnock will think, right, we're on a wee winning run here. We haven't been winning games. But for me, in looking at the two teams, I would say Kilmarnock. I think Kilmarnock have got good players on their side. I think we saw a wee glimpse of it when a new manager coming in. Okay, it never worked for him right away, but you could see the improving of the team as the game's going on. And if you cast your mind back to the Celtic game where it was 1 each, they put in a good shift there. And even if they'd come out of that game with a point, they'd have been on the up. But obviously Celtic got the goal late on. But I just think that win today with the players that they've got, might just be better than Hamilton.
I think the other thing that we need to remember is that Inverness have also got still got a game in hand. I think they've got Hearts, I think it is, to play. So I mean, I know that'll be a tough one for them, but they've got an opportunity even to build their points by another 3 if they can get a result against Hearts. So although, as I say, it'll be a tough game, I think that the main thing is that Kilmarnock are looking more like the team that will be in the playoff, I think. But nevertheless, I think if Kelly show the kind of form they've been showing of late, and that result today will give them a big boost, they might become a team that could become very hard for the Championship team. Whoever gets through in the Championship, Peter, could have a really tough game this year, because I think we saw it last year. Rangers were dominated by Motherwell and never really pushed Motherwell at all. And I think even this year, the strength is going to be, I think, with the Premier League clubs. Yeah,
is Jim McIntyre in the running now, Ruffy, for manager of the year? It's such a difficult one. All the managers pick it, so it's not as if anybody can be accused of bias. It's all the managers who pick manager of the year.
Yeah, I think the manager will be impressed with what he's done for a club like Ross County. I know the owners put a lot of money into the club, but they've won a cup. The resources that they have, they're now where they are in the league, which is great. And but I just get baffled when we all start voting, and the criteria that we all throw up there, and who's got that at their disposal, who's got that, and it's a difficult one, because you would like to think that you're in the game to win things, and people who win things should be the winners.
Well, by the way, when you look at the Championship, Mark Warburton's won the league. He's in the final tomorrow. He's in the semi-final. Alan Stubbs got to the final of the League Cup. He's in the final of the semi-final of the Scottish Cup. Still got the possibility of promotion, and the job Peter Houston's done is unbelievable. So there's 3 in the Championship that could easily win it.
Yeah.
And also I think that sometimes they judge it, they don't go on the people who do really well with the resources, considering the fact they don't have the resources other people have got. They've done a great job, and sometimes they don't get the credit. They go generally on people who have won things, don't they?
Of course, yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, and right now I'm just looking at Alloa, 18-1 today to defeat Hibs, Ruffy.
Yeah, it's a result that I don't think any of us saw coming. I'm sure Alan Stubbs and the players were along there with the players that they've got at their disposal, and taking everything into consideration to win that. And that's the baffling thing. As a manager, you look at the players you've got in front of you, and you look at what you're up against, and then you go home at night and say, how did that happen? We obviously never saw the 90 minutes. They might have had chances, they might have been unlucky. We don't know, but certainly at the end of the day, it's something, a game they should have taken something out of.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that. I think there's a big race coming up, Peter. I think we're going to be chatting about it.
Yeah, I think we're going to. I think I've gone for Druid's nephew to win it. Fell with five jumps to go last year, but was out in front. So I'm going for Druid's nephew. It's a lucky dip. What are you going for, Dan?
I'm going for On My Own.
Yeah, okay. No further questions required. Gordon?
No, it's on. It's a lot easier wanted to say than mine. I'm going for Souvenecchia Conte.
Oh, yeah.
Souvenecchia Conte, yeah.
I'm going to go for The Last Samurai.
Okay. Did you watch the movie, Ruffy?
Yes, I did,
Yeah.
Very good. I've not picked it on the basis of that. I mean, I've studied some form.
Was the horse in the movie, no?
No, not at all.
No, okay. Because in that case, quite a lot of people died in it, Ruffy. I haven't spoiled the plot on this one, but let's see how it all pans out. It's a great occasion, the Grand National, but I always feel as if, some people have suggested, there are horses that this is ideally for them, but strange things happen, and I think it's mad. You can be lucky one year.
Yeah, you can. It's, as I said earlier yesterday, it's a lot easier the second time round, because with the amount of horses that are in, the fences get absolutely scattered, so they're not as high as what they were in the first round. But you're right, you can be brought down by a horse in front of you. The good ones will want to be up in the first 5 or 6 and staying out of trouble. But the conditions today, as you've said, it's been raining really, really heavy, and I don't think there'll be many will finish this race. I think a lot of them will be pulled up.
Horses for courses, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't come up with a better line for it. I'm well happy with that. We're going to be hearing from, of course, Derek Clark, who has been talking to Lee Clark, who'll be a delighted man getting his first win as Kilmarnock boss, Gordon Smith. I mean, he's worked hard at it, he's changed it, he's tinkered it. He's got Chris Boyd selected and playing on a regular basis as he arrived.
Absolutely. I mean, he must have changed the system about. Chris Boyd's get back in. He's also changed the training schedule, as we know. He trains the players at the same time as their game is at, like a 3 o'clock training session. Very professional in terms of that, and he's been confident as well. I could see his disappointment in some of the results they've got, but he did say things were improving, and today could be the measure of that. Getting a very, very good win against St Johnstone. Dan mentioned earlier on, I mean, they go to Tynecastle and they win 3-0, and yet they go to Rugby Park and get beat 3-0. It's unbelievable. I know it's a AstroTurf pitch at Kilmarnock and all that, but it's a good one. And I think that's put Kelly in a strong position, considering how with the Dundee United result is a major factor today. To give them that lead, 8 points at this stage when there's 5 games left, it could be a big turnaround. And if he keeps them up this season, then it'll look like it's been a very, very good choice to select him as the manager.
Okay, let's turn our attentions to the Petrofac Training Cup tomorrow, because Rangers are going for their second trophy, and they hope they'll have another final to play at Hampden in May if they can get past Celtic on the 17th of April. So with that in mind, let's hear from the Rangers manager on their preparations for this game, obviously with Celtic on the horizon as well.
It's very helpful to have it. It's a big cup final on Sunday, so it prepares the team really well in terms of coming here, playing, the atmosphere, the build-up work, the hotel. Everything will be identical both weekends, but it's a fantastic experience this Sunday for us. The focus right now is the Petrofac. Get that trophy won, then we move forward, but there's no doubt it'll help us.
Is there any bonus playing at Hampden in this one and then going back there next week, or is it all about just what the players do on the day, Ruffy?
I think it's a good idea, to get a game there. There's a lot of players in the Rangers team have never been to an occasion like that. There'll be a full house. For whatever reason, the stadium, the park itself is different from other stadiums, and to sample the atmosphere, to sample everything that goes with it, the crowd, being able to handle the crowd, I think it'll be a benefit for any players that are picked to play.
Yep. Obviously, Jim McInally has to try and plot a victory for Peterhead. I think he might have a plan.
Well, I think we've got to take advantage of the fact that they're playing in a big Old Firm game the week after, and we need to match up to them. And we know how they'll play. They don't change. They play the same way. And we know exactly who we'll be playing against too, although they are great at mixing it up sometimes and they play a lot of 1-2s, etc. But I think generally we need to be in their faces. We need to ask the question, are you prepared to injure yourself in this game with overrunning us or whatever? And I don't mean that and that we kick them off the park and anything. I just mean that we need to, when it's there, we need to be in their faces, we need to tackle. And when we get it, we need to ask questions of them.
Well, there's the plan, Ruffy. First 10-15 minutes, just set about Rangers, see if they're up for it in a physical sense.
Well, it doesn't matter what game you get into. If you're coming up against a team who are far superior than you, it doesn't matter whether it's Brazil versus whoever, you make the players know that they're in a game. You don't give them a lot of time on the ball. You hope that for the first 10-15 minutes you can keep them at bay, you can get a wee bit of apprehension into them, and then maybe a bit of luck, maybe a couple of corners, a free kick, put them under a wee bit of pressure, and that's what we're hoping. The main thing is they don't want to let Rangers score early on, and they want to try and make a game of it as long as possible. Yeah,
absolutely. Silvianaco Conte was Gordon's choice for the Grand National, so commiserations to Gordon. He's out.
He fall already?
He's gone.
Oh no.
He's gone. So there you are. There goes the 35 pence. That's always the thing about it, Darren. You get your hopes built up and then
Well, we were talking earlier, it doesn't matter, the favourites, if they get caught in and a horse goes down in front of them, there's nothing you can do about it. It's not until the kind of race opens up and a few horses are away that maybe your horse is still in there and you've got a chance.
Here's a man who, if he was riding a horse at the moment, Lee Clark would think to himself, I've got a chance. It's been a great performance today. Derek Clark is back with us at Rugby Park. Derek, I don't think you'll be able to contain his enthusiasm for that performance today.
His voice was very coarse as well. He was kicking every ball on the touchline. He was absolutely delighted with the result, but he did stress that there was nothing achieved as of yet. He says the team have been putting in performances like that of late. They've just not had the luck in front of goal. Well, today they certainly got it. They scored 3, and he said they could have scored a lot more, and it's hard to disagree with that.
What about the flip side of that? Of course, St Johnstone manager Tommy Wright. I think it was 3 wins out of 17 games going into this one. I think it's been a really poor end to the season for the Perth side.
Yeah, it has been, but he did stress he was absolutely delighted to make the top 6 for what is the 5th year in succession, so you have to admit that is a terrific achievement for the provincial club. But he felt that 3-0 scoreline was harsh on his side. He was unhappy at the disallowed goal. Liam Craig had the ball in the net with a header, but it was judged to be illegal, and it also had a possible penalty call turned down. Chris Kane filled at the edge of the box. He was also unhappy at that. He felt his side was harsh to lose here by 3-0, but I have to disagree with Tommy Wright on that front, because I felt Kilmarnock fully deserved the win and could have scored more goals.
Okay, thank you to Derek Clark for his words there from the press room, listening to Lee Clark and Tommy Wright. The great news about Druid's nephew is it's joined your horse now as well. And look at the look on Ruffy's face here, because he knows that the 2 horses that really are in with a shout, Many Clouds, last year's winner, and Last Samurai, are contesting this one, Ruffy. Is that fair?
Yes, he is. He's doing particularly well, but this is the other one is going for 3 in a row, to equal Red Rum. So he's up there. He's got all the stamina. So if they can stay on their feet, it'll be in the running.
Peter, our horses are going well. It's just they don't have jockeys on them.
Yeah.
They're actually
they're
actually well up there.
Yeah.
Is that mine on its own?
Yeah, absolutely.
On my own,
As it will be at the end of the race as well. Just sort of throwing a wee bit of horse racing on this programme as well. I've got it all there. And what about Ruffy? He studied the forum. If he wins this race, he'll be unbearable again. Shows your unbearable face, Ruffy, as ever. It's always good. There you are. That looked like McJoey from Friends, to be perfectly honest with you. We will hear from Des McKeown as if on cue. He was watching a game today at New Douglas Park, which was a big result for Hamilton. Martin Canning, what was his response to it all, Des?
Just delighted, Peter, as you can well imagine. He spoke very candidly about how they've spoken in the past about trying to make New Douglas Park a difficult place for teams to come to. He didn't use the word soft touch, but they've not really delivered on that. But he thought today his players delivered exactly what he would want, and the supporters would want. He was glowing in his praise of the application of his players. And no wonder, because they were terrific. They gave absolutely everything. 2 different types of football halves. First half, totally dominant, creating chances. Second half, a wee bit backs to the wall. He thought his players could have been braver in the second half to play more, but that wasn't to detract from the efforts that he got from them, because manfully they defended well and asked real questions of Dundee. Paul Hartley, on the other hand, really down, saying that they'd set the target, the top 6, it was in their own hands, and in the first half just didn't turn up, couldn't cope with Hamilton's physicality, and that was in respect of trying to suffocate the best players that Dundee have, and he gave great credit to Hamilton for the way that they applied themselves in the game real down. Paul was, visibly upset the fact that the top six has not been achieved, because that was the standard that he had set last season, and it was what was expecting this season. But he knows that to deliver that, you can't just expect it. You've got to turn up, and these players didn't turn up today. So two very contrasting managerial opinions after the game.
And just on that point, did he mention anything about his altercation with Dougie Emery?
No, and nobody really asked him about it. I think it would have been unfair given Paul's manner and Paul's state of mind in the press room. Peter, he was very softly spoken, and you could just tell it was hurting. Gary Harkins had been in between Martin Cannon and Paul Hartley, and if I was to say that the interview wasn't exactly an interview, it was one word answers that Gary Harkins was given, and that was because I think the entire Dens dressing room is hurting. I think they feel they've failed, and they failed their manager, they failed a big support that were here today. The little away stand to the left hand side and the main stand, that was full, so there was a big travelling support, and I think everyone just is feeling hurt. But listen, they've only themselves to blame. As Paul said, it was in their hands. They didn't turn up, it wasn't good enough, and it's now the bottom six for them.
Okay, thanks to Des there at New Douglas Park. Hamilton winning against Dundee, and Rule the World wins the Grand National, Ruffy.
Yeah, I thought my horse was going to hang on there, but the run in, as it usually does, claims a few victims, and Rule the World just had too much stamina in the end, so I had to settle for second place.
Yep, and did you have any money whatsoever on in second place?
I had each way, yes, the first five, so I'm doing all right. I'm actually sharing it with my daughter, so I'm sure I won't see any of the winnings at all.
Yeah, absolutely, and yet again, just that killer line there to get everybody on side of them. The housewife's favourite delivers the line. People are at their television now, much the same as the Notebook movie, going, Ruffy, isn't he a great lad? Whereas you, me and Gordon would have taken the money and then maybe just a token gesture. But Last Samurai second, Vic's Canvas in third position. The Petrofac Training Cup, of course, one of the things that Mark Warburton mentioned with regards to the final itself. What about Martin Wycon? We were talking about him earlier. Is there any chance that he could be fit for Rangers' team for the Scottish Cup semi-final against Celtic? And this was a very honest answer to it.
It won't be an L firm game. No, so the guy's been out for 6 weeks. He has to get himself fit. You just can't come straight back into a game of that level. But if we get through that, then I think he'll figure hopefully in the final if we do well.
And I think there's no chance. Is that a blow? Zviachenko is struggling for Celtic. Martin Wycon's not going to make it. Is it fair to say that Wycon's the bigger miss?
That's a blow, yeah, without doubt, because Kenny's Miller's had a fantastic season for Rangers. I think Barry Mackay, O'Halloran and Wycon is a formidable three, with Kenny in the wings, but it's a blow, but I'm sure Kenny will go in there. He's played in big games, and he'll be a huge influence handling the kids, talking them through the game and talking them before it, and that's where Kenny will play a huge part in.
I don't think O'Halloran can play in this game though.
Oh, can he not? He's
cup
tied, yeah.
So that's it'll need to be maybe Forrester maybe come in there and Mackay and Miller. But you're absolutely right in terms of you've lost an option there. A goal scoring option that might have started the game. Even with Miller there, they might have played in a wider position. So I think it will be a loss.
Let's go to Falkirk Stadium. Craig Turnbull is there now. Craig, you watched a great match. Probably not good for managers' nerves. What did Peter Houston make of it?
Yeah, he was delighted with his team's effort in the first half. Felt they could have been further ahead than what they had. He scored that early goal through Lee Miller, and he looked very comfortable. He was also wanted to point out that he didn't deliberately look at what Hibs were doing today. They have to focus on themselves, and it really sets up Tuesday nicely. He says they won't play for a draw, even though that could potentially be enough for Falkirk, given that they're 6 points ahead with 2 games in hand for Hibs, but they've got better goal difference, Falkirk. So he goes in there with confidence, and he says that today's result certainly does him no harm at all.
Alec Ray, has he mentioned any positives to take from that game?
Yeah, I think he was pretty pleased with the spirit and character that his side shows. Obviously extremely disappointed with the result. Said that his side performed well in the second half and he was perplexed at the third goal for Falkirk. He believed that the free kick that led up to the goal hadn't been taken in the right place, so he was extremely annoyed by that. He was also pretty happy at Stevie Mallon's performance. He says he's getting better as far as he goes on in the season. If he keeps getting better as the season goes on, even they've also had a couple of derisory offers for Mallon, and he says that he won't leave on the cheap.
Okay, thanks to Craig there at the Falkirk Stadium. I think the derisory offers have come from Dundee.
That's what we're talking. They've ended up not in the top six. That extra place and being in the top six might have given that extra money to go and get him.
Yeah.
Now that could be a problem now.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get the thoughts of Des McKeown on the Petrofac Training Cup final. We're going to get the predictions from all of you guys on tomorrow's final at Hampden. The place will be awash with red, white and blue because Rangers fans have just snapped up thousands upon thousands of tickets. I think there's 1,700 Peterhead fans and the rest will be Rangers fans for this one. Des, how do you see it going?
I have to say, Peter, as much as I am always fighting for the underdog, I have to say I would be very surprised if Rangers don't come out on top. And this one, I've seen Rangers recently on a number of occasions. Defensively, they haven't been fantastic. They've lost a lot of goals, as we're well aware. I think 9 in the last 3 games. And if there is any hope for Peterhead, it would be to have Rory. So the name has gone right out of my head. Just know it's Rory McAllister. Rory McAllister. I would have him absolutely getting, talked up tonight. Make sure that he knows, and he's not a lad that is short of confidence. But I think if Rory can rustle up Kiernan and Wilson, then they've got a chance. But I just think Rangers have got too much quality. Peter, Jim McInally will set his team up to really try and frustrate and try and take the game to Rangers, but I'm not convinced that they've got the quality to really hurt them. So as a result, I would have to say that Rangers will be the team that will come out on top in the Petrofac Training Cup final.
Ruffy, when we were listening to Jim McInally, he said exactly what Des mentioned there. The best chance is to try and ruffle Rangers up, try and be physical with them, see if they fancy it, and then try and get at their back four, especially from a central point.
Yeah, but unfortunately I think everything's stacked against them. Obviously from a lower league, Rangers will have all the supporters there, just about. There'll be a fantastic atmosphere inside. I don't know if the Peterhead boys will have experienced anything like it. I think everything's going for Rangers, and unfortunately I think if Rangers were to get an early goal, they'll run out maybe 3 or 4 winners, 3 or 4 goals to nothing.
Gordon?
Yeah, I think that although they won't have experienced anything like it, you can imagine the lift the Peterhead boys will get. I think they'll get a tremendous thrill for playing in front of a full Hampden Park, and as I say, the cup final for them, the chances of playing in cup finals in their careers will be limited, and I think that they'll push Rangers all the way. I think just because of the amount of work they'll put in, I think Rangers will win the game, and I think if they don't, it will be a cup shock. There's no doubt about it. We'll consider it a shock, but I think that Peterhead will give them a really good game.
I think I understand what Jim's saying, ruffling them up, but nowadays I don't think you can, because it can be a non-contact sport. Because if he wants his players to go and flying in the first 5-10 minutes, sometimes you get a booking for your first challenge. So that it's hard, but I obviously understand what Jim's saying, and I don't think you'll have to motivate Rory McAllister. He'll be well up for the game. He is a huge threat, but I see Rangers winning comfortably.
Okay, you can give us your view on that. Of course, Des, you've got something else you might want to add to that?
Only in terms of ruffling them up, but if I talk about today's game here, the physicality shown by Hamilton with Dundee, and Paul Hartley openly talked about it. I think it's just about getting into people's faces, not giving them the space to get the head up. Andy Halliday, a big player, Jason Holt, a big player, Barry Mackay, all these guys, if they've got space to operate, then they'll cause you problems. Whereas I think Jim knows that he needs to get really tight, really close, and just really make sure that when the players are in possession, they don't have options in the ball.
Yeah, and as far as Rangers are concerned as well, with the losses that we were talking about and what Rangers are going to do to Peterhead, we mentioned Kenny Miller there. The one visual image I have is of Kenny Miller in that match against St Mirren in the League Cup final, when it looked as if to all and sundry that Rangers were going to lose.
Yeah, I know, that's quite a few years ago as well, and yet he's still doing it at the age he's at. So he will be a threat. I mean, McAllister will be the player that Rangers will know about, and he'll be the player to try and stop. The problem, as Des was saying there about trying to stop Rangers playing, the problem about doing it is it's Hampden and it's a big pitch. So it's very, very hard to close down space in a pitch that size. That's the problem.
Yep. OK, I can tell you it's Manchester City 0, West Brom 1. Sessignon with the goal for West Brom. Do you get the feeling, if there is such a thing as downing tools, that the Manchester City players have done that now?
Yeah, I think they all have expectations. They all want to win the league, but I think the most important thing is they want to be in the top four. They want to be in Champions League football. Maybe Man City think they're good enough to do that, you know. But you still have to win games. But as we spoke at the early part of the show, everybody's just making it so easy for Leicester. It's unreal. It's as if they want to actually let Leicester win that league as well. Yeah.
Let's look at the poll that we had earlier on. Of course, with Aberdeen in mind, with Celtic now 8 points clear, is there too big a gap for Aberdeen to still contest the title? And as you can see there, 88% say yes, 12% say no. A fairly emphatic result. I think the general feeling is, Ruffy, that Aberdeen blew it last night.
Yeah, possibly blew it a few weeks before it when they had chances, when they had really Celtic in their grasp, maybe 3 or 4 points behind them to close it and put really pressure on Celtic. They just couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. After the break, we'll go back over all the results in the Premiership in Scotland, the Championship, League One and League Two, and get the final thoughts of our panellists today, Alan Ruff, Gordon Smith and Darren Jackson. We'll also give you a complete update on the full-time scores from the Barclays Premier League as well. Join us after the break and we'll chat more football. Quite a few managers distraught at the way it ends, the split. Paul Hartley certainly one of those dejected men. Martin Canning a little bit more optimistic about the Aki's chances of escaping a playoff place, and I think Mixu Patalainen, it's fair to say, will be inconsolable after their defeat to Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Let's have a look at the full-time scores from the Premiership to go back over it for you. Motherwell 1, Celtic 2. Lee Griffiths with a double layer secures all 3 points, and possibly this is the day when many Celtic fans and neutrals will consider Ronnie Dyler's team on their way to the Premiership title after Hearts defeated Aberdeen last night at Tynecastle. Dundee United 0, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 2, Hamilton Accies 2, Dundee 1, Kilmarnock 3, St Johnstone 0, and Ross County 1, Partick Thistle 0. Into the table, first of all, let's have a look at the table to see how that leaves the top 6 and bottom 6, and you can see Dundee just missing out there. There could be a little twist, I suppose, if Inverness in their game in hand against Hearts, it would need to be a significant win for them to deny Ross County, Gordon Smith, to be fair.
Yeah, it would have to be, but you know, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that's it. You know, that's the way it's going to finish now. But I think that you look at it, Inverness, he's got one game in hand against Hearts. It's going to be a tough one for them, there's no doubt.
Yeah, let's go to the Championship full-time scores there. There was a goals fest at the Falkirk Stadium. It finished Alloa 1, Hibs 0. That certainly was a surprise. Falkirk 3, St Mirren 2, Morton 2, Livingston 1, and Queen of the South 1, Wraith Rovers 2. What impact does that have on the Championship, Ruffy? Hibs still with it all to do?
Still all to do, but as we spoke about on Tuesday night, is it? A massive game, and that could be the game that could determine who's going to take that second place.
Jim Duffy, I feel, will be well pleased with where Morton have finished as they head towards the end of the season, because they're not going to be relegated. I think his remit was put a team together that can stay in that division.
Without doubt, fantastic job. I watched them at Easter Road when they beat them 3-0. Hibs didn't play actually that bad that night, but Morton did very well. And I like the boy Denny Johnson. I think he's a very good player. Obviously at Celtic, we actually tried to get him at Dundee United. But he went down to Birmingham and he's come back up, and I like him. I think he'll score goals wherever he goes.
Yeah, let's look at League One today. Airdrie United 1, Stenhousemuir 1, Ayr United 0, Albion Rovers 1, Cowdenbeath 2, Brecon City 1, and Dunfermline 2, Forfar 2. Here's how that affects the table. Of course, Dunfermline, the champions, Peterhead, Ayr United, Stranraer and Albion Rovers in that top half. It's so tight at the bottom, Gordon, in this division.
I know, look at that. I mean, it's unbelievable that the bottom half of the league, separated by 7 points in total. And they're all capable of beating each other. There's no question of that is a very tight league. Only really the most consistent team, as you can see, have been Dunfermline over the season. But Peterhead, not having a game today. But Ayr United have been so mixed in their form. I mean, losing today, but they've been very, very poor of late. Ayr United just can't put a consistent run together. Okay, and League Two. Here's how it all finished today. Annan Athletic 4, Arbroath 1, Berwick Rangers 3, Clyde 0, East Fife 3, Montrose 0, East Stirlingshire 0, Queen's Park 3, and Stirling Albion 0, Elgin City 0. Here's the League 2 table as it stands, and East Fife out in front, Annan, Clyde and Queen's Park. Queen's Park, look how tight it is with Elgin City, Ruffy.
Yeah, Queen's Park went off the boil there, but they've got a crucial win there today that's put them back in there. Clyde, bad 3 games for them. They're still in it. There's still games to be won, and but it looks as if East Fife have run away with this one.
I think it's basically 5 teams, isn't it, for the 4 spots that are there. I mean, there's only one team's going to miss out. The rest of them, nobody else is going to get close to it. But Queen's Park just got themselves above Elgin there today, so that was a good result.
Yep, we've already discussed the top of the Petrofac Training Cup and the top of the Championship, Rangers, the champions. Now today, I think the top end with regards to Aberdeen's challenge is over. will Derek McInnes reflect on it? One of huge disappointment, or eventually reflect on it all as possibly, a really good season where they tried to push Celtic as much as possible?
I think inside, Derek and Tony will be hurting a little bit, but I think they'll be proud of the players and what they've achieved. Having won their first eight games, and then I think they lost the next 5. And they must have thought that was it gone then, but the character the players showed the club and showed the manager and staff was tremendous, and I think you can only give them credit for taking it to the wire. You say they blew it last night. It's hard to say when you go to a place like Tynecastle, who they're up there, and it's a hard place to go. They had a great start, but I think they can only take credit for what they've achieved this year.
Yeah, I think they've played really well, and what we wanted to see in the league was a challenge. You know what I mean? And we've had that this year. I mean, it isn't necessarily over yet, but most of us were looking at it and thinking, yeah, we don't see Celtic getting caught now with the lead they've got, and it could have been tight. I mean, if the games had gone the other way, if Aberdeen had managed to get the result when they were playing well at Tynecastle for the first part of the game, missed 2 chances, 1-0 up, don't get the points. If they had got the points, then they would put Celtic under a lot of pressure today. And Motherwell, that might have turned out a different game if that pressure had been there, but it wasn't. So you have to say, I think Celtic will win the league. I always thought they would, but we do want to see a challenge in the league, because there's nothing worse than seeing a one-horse race.
Yep, Ruffy, I think as far as last night's concerned, when you look at the manner of it, as Darren mentioned there, they went ahead in the game. They've done that in a few games, but suddenly at the back end, that's where the questions I think that Derek will try and address, if he's going to address anything in the summer, just not being able to hold on to leads.
You're right, but in the other sense as well, you've got to have the ability in players to win you games. I mean, you're winning 1-0 and you get that chance at 1-0 to go 2-0, you've got to take them. And unfortunately, Aberdeen, for whatever reason, I think for me, the 2 main reasons that Aberdeen never fulfilled their challenge was, we spoke on it earlier, was Rooney. But I mean, I know you might disagree with me. I thought the goalkeeper as well. I thought the boy Ward was unbelievable. I think that boy Ward could have won Aberdeen possibly 5 or 6 points. Yeah. Starting with the Motherwell game at Motherwell, where they lost 2 goals. I think if he had been there for the whole season, I think it would have been a lot tighter.
Okay, I can tell you that Sergio Aguero has equalised for Manchester City from the penalty spot. Here's how it looks in the Barclays Premier League. With these games, it's West Ham 3, Arsenal 3, Aston Villa 1, Bournemouth 2, Crystal Palace 1, Norwich City 0, Southampton 3, Newcastle 1, Swansea 1, Chelsea 0, and Watford 1, Everton 1. And we've just brought you the news from the Man City West Brom game. We've been discussing Championship, League 1, League 2, of course the Premiership and the Petrofac Training Cup. Just on the Barclays Premier League there, Ruffy, before we finish, all eyes I think will be on Leicester against Sunderland tomorrow. It could be a pivotal moment in the season if Tottenham, as Darren says, Aberdeen have to go to Tynecastle and try and get a win. It's tough. Tottenham have to try and beat Manchester United. Yeah, you're looking at the game with Leicester and everything they've done this season. You would like to think that they'd win that one, although it's away from home. But in the other sense, you're looking at that game you've just spoke about, and that looks as if it could be another draw in the cards and make it a wee bit easier for Leicester. Yeah, Leicester, if they can win that game at Sunderland, that's the 1:30 kick-off. That's right. Then the later one is Spurs against Manchester United. Yeah, it was that thing. The way I was talking about the Aberdeen Hearts. If Aberdeen had got the points, then Celtic have to get into that game knowing the pressure that's on them, and that's a similar situation tomorrow. Yeah. If Leicester do, and they've been an unbelievable run. And somebody said to me, I can't remember how many games it actually is. It's something like 14 or something like that. 1-0 wins. 1-0, yes. Is that correct? Yeah. Something like that. They seem to win 1-0 all the time. So that's a big game for them. And if they win, they put Tottenham under severe pressure, no doubt. Yeah, it would be 10 points. Even this game tonight, I'll have an effect on tomorrow, because if Man City don't win tonight, it gives Man United a boost to try and get that fourth spot. Yeah. So that puts pressure on Tottenham right away. But obviously, Leicester have been incredible. If they go 10 points, if they were to go 10 points tomorrow,
I would think that's
Yeah.
it's over.
Yeah.
It's just an incredible achievement.
Absolutely, I just can't wait to see the movie, and of course see the action men with the Leicester City top on when it's all released. There'll be merchandise aplenty to commemorate it if it does indeed happen. Just a final word then on Celtic, Ruffy, because they got the early kick-off today, got the win. Lee Griffiths, 37 goals for the season. I don't think too many people will dispute him picking up awards when they come around at the start of May.
No, I think he'll win both awards. I think he's justified as well. You know, for a while there, we all thought he was going out of Celtic. We thought he'd had his chance, but whoever put an arm round him, put him in the right road, and he's responded, and he's been a sensation this year.
Yep, it's good going.
He was just regarded as a sub at one point, wasn't he? He was just a squad player, and it's amazing how he's come in there. He's still to establish himself in the Scottish team, that's for sure, because Gordon Strachan so far hasn't really got him down as his number one. But I think that could happen too, because he is a goal scorer.
Any of you guys want to raise your hand and think that the title could obviously save Ronnie Dyler's job in the summer? Would the board stick with him?
It's hard to say.
I think it'll be hard for Ronnie to stay just than what's going on at the club. I don't know, but I would think it would be hard for them to stay.
You would need a double, I think, in order to have any chance of staying in the position. You would need to win the league and the cup.
Yeah, a double or the double. It's another programme. Okay. Thanks very much to Gordon Smith. Thanks to Darren Jackson and Alan Ruff. Join us on Monday if you can, and we'll go back over the results, and we'll also get reaction from more of the managers and players involved in those remarkable games today from everyone here on Peter and Ruffy's Saturday Football Show. Thanks for watching. Good night.